Kasey, Leo, I appreciate you both for being with me today.
Thank you.
So let's kind of give a little backstory on that, how this happened before we start, and then we'll kind of open it up on, who you are, kind of, your side of things and then yours as well.
Okay.
So I've had both of you on the show.
Yep.
You both are great. We had great conversations, and that's something that it's trending everywhere right now. The debates, people kind of collabing and coming together and having these conversations from opposing sides, or even almost closely similar. Maybe some issues not agreeing with, but So I think it'd be good to have just a healthy conversation, be able to talk. There's going to be disagreements, but I know both of you. I know both of you are going to be very cordial to one another.
Yeah.
And I think this will help out, especially here in Kansas City. I don't know if we have much of these. I've seen some of them on like PBS. I think they do some of the, I can't remember what that British guy name is, but he does the weekend reviews and stuff like that. So I've seen them do debates. But I'd like it to be from not just only current politicians or people with money or people that, are kind of faking it till they make it just to get in those circles. I want it to be from real guys.
Right,
You know what I mean? Real people who are honest, who will tell what they believe is the truth, rub elbows against the opposing, and speak truth, on how they feel. So I think you two are great for that, and I think this will be a good conversation. Yeah. So, Kasey, if you want to kind of start it off on, just give a little backstory.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you. Like I said, appreciate you having us out here. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
You coming up. This came up to one of those things of like, never thought I'd even be doing anything like this. And we've been talking for a while. And then what I would kind of call it is like, I don't know, the comment section come to life. And, I listen to his stuff now pretty much anytime there's something I'm listening to it. I heard you on there, and I've heard other people, and you were as good as anybody on there. Yeah. But there's points you make, and I'm like, hey, what about that? Or what about this? I'm always texting him just because that's the only one I know.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's kind of like, hey, why don't we get you on and do this? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a great idea because I kind of really do enjoy the idea of two things. A, just being able to like have conversation where we can talk about topics that are interesting, but we don't need to have just people agree with us all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested. He made some points on multiple people you've talked to where it's, why do people think the way they think? It's, the more deeper interest. And that's kind of, I was very interested in is not just, we could state facts, but it's very interested in, okay.
What pushes
somebody
you
into that
side?
section?
Yeah.
Like where, did it come from? And because he's right, we're real normal people from Kansas City.
Because even me and Kasey, like we go back and forth. We have a lot of texts where we don't agree on things, but we talk it out.
And I love that too.
Yeah.
And that's why I was happy because I'm almost to the point now, like when you see stuff, I'm almost to the point where unless you see it in person and you can almost know them, I don't even know if it's real with all the stuff that's out there. Yeah, so it's interesting to have conversations with people. You can be like, hey, you're a real person. You're a real person. We're not like getting paid off of whoever, some groups that we're just like, conversating about. So I'm excited to have some of these topics with somebody we agree with. I know we're going to disagree on some stuff and agree, and we're going to agree on some stuff and disagree. So looking forward to it.
Right.
All right. So for me, to me, it's funny because a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that I'm criticizing my country, America, when I criticize politicians both on the left or on the right? Because I criticize both parties, Democrats and Republicans, right? And people seem to be almost like a cult-like following to politicians. They get upset when I criticize their side or their political party, which is pretty amazing to me, especially the older people. The older you are, the more brainwashed people seem to be, right? Because they're so used to watching the media and stuff like that, where people forget that media gets paid from these politicians, these corporations, to put out certain propaganda. And a lot of people, unfortunately, buy this stuff, right? And they believe in this system, but we're failing the middle class in America, right? We're completely become a country in which our middle class is working longer hours like never before in America, right? So to pay bills, to pay groceries, whatever the case may be, right? And so we become corporately run by these politicians who don't have the best interest of the American people, right?
Yeah, they're serving corporations.
But
Yeah.
legislators are supposed to work for us, right? Legislators are supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to work for the working class. That money isn't supposed to go to Israel, El Salvador, 40 billion to Argentina up to date, and then I think there's more coming as well. Just because Trump said, quote, I happen to like the guy. Of course, talking about the dictator president of Argentina, right? You don't, and so we have a system that's completely broken, right? We have a system that completely has failed the American people, and they're really mocking this whole system, because it's corrupt at all ends from all officials, and you don't have to go far to see what's going on. You could see that locally, right? You can see that with every amendment that the people of Missouri have passed in Missouri has been overturned by legislators, and I'll read some of them here: sick leave, removed inflation, cost of living pay increases, abortion rights, the royal stadiums, and I can go on and on. And these legislators for far too long have just completely failed the American people, and I think the American people are sick and tired of it, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about in some of my arguments and stuff like that. So
awesome. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kasey. So we've got about 4 to 5 topics we're going to discuss today. I'm guessing you guys are all prepped on all of them, so you don't matter which order we kind of go in. So
that's fine.
I'd like to start out with probably one of the biggest topics right now, which is one of the biggest, immigration and border security.
Okay.
If you guys want, we can flip a coin, or do you guys want to just decide who wants to go first?
Yeah, you go first. I'm totally good.
On immigration.
Yeah, on immigration.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. And we're also going to do a timer of 10 minutes. You guys won't be able to see it, who's watching, but they have it right in front of them. So if you want, and you don't have to use all the time if you don't want, we will also try to fit in also a little bit of an open discussion after each topic is debated. So, Dom, go ahead and hit the timer. Thanks.
So when it comes to immigration, here's the problem, right? Here's what you hear in right-wing media. And this is why a lot of Democrats believe that Republicans are stupid people, and I'm gonna tell you why I say this, right? Because they're essentially going around saying Latinos, Mexicans are so genetically superior to white people that even though they don't know a lick of English, they can come into your country and steal your job. That's what they're saying. They're saying to the people, they can come into the country and steal your job. And that's not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that we allow corporations to hire illegal immigrants in the first place. That's the root of the problem. What happens is that when you have a corrupt system that's designed this way, it's designed to so that every country, first and foremost, every country needs immigrants. In order to grow their economy, they need immigrants. That's just the bottom line. This is why countries will pay immigrants a lot of money to move there. You always see the videos on Instagram, whatever social media platform you use. You always see the videos. Move to this country, we'll pay you this amount of money, because that's real. They need people to grow their economy. They need people to grow, right? And so what do we do here in America? We invite them to come over into the country. We invite them to apply for asylum, but we keep them illegal 20, 30 years while they're going through the immigration process. Now, what happens when you have someone who's illegal? A corporation can come in and say, okay, well, you know what? Why am I going to hire an American? Because I can hire this guy who's illegal for less money. So if I hire him for less money, then I don't have to pay Americans a livable wage either. And so the immigrants could get away with that, because typically what they do is they'll live in a house with a group of friends, and they're really just here to save money and leave the country, for the most part. And a lot of them end up staying here. Obviously, a lot of them want the American dream. They want to believe it's real. They want to believe that this is a fair system, but the system has completely failed the American people. And now you have a Trump administration who during his first term, remember, he also wants, Trump has pushed for illegal immigrants as well. But except that he first passed an act where he started giving papers to Ukrainians, white Ukrainians, right? And then also South Africans, right? So he knows that we need immigrants. He also, during his first term, started bringing kids. We all remember the kids in the cages, right? And so these kids in the cages were, that was his big idea. Let's get them early, young. They'll vote Republican. They'll vote with us. We'll get them working. They'll lower the age of working ages. Obviously, that none of that worked, and so now you have a Trump administration who's come in here and said, okay, we're going to just deport anybody who, at first it was, we're going to deport criminals, which I think everyone would agree we want criminals out of the country, right? But when you go after everyone workers, people who are, you wait for them outside of their homes, you bust their windows, drag them out of the cars. That's a system that I don't think anyone can agree with, because you invited these people to come into the country and apply for asylum, and then you deport these people, you grab them out of their cars, you rip them from their children. And, so that's a system that's not working. We need to reform immigration, and we need to do a better job of that, in my opinion.
All right, cool. Let's restart that timer, and let's let Kasey weigh in on his thoughts.
Okay, well, you picked a topic of we're here to disagree and stuff, but this is one of those topics where we're going to probably agree more than we don't. And I'll ask this question even though I'm going to give my time, but one thing you mentioned, which I'm just curious on as we get into, is when you said they invite them in. I might ask you later when you jump in here in a second. I'd like to know kind of more what you mean by invited in. We can just say now, I don't care, but I'm kind of curious.
So when you invite someone, basically when you allow people to come into the country and apply for asylum, right?
Okay, so asylum.
That's inviting them into the country. That's saying, you can come across the border, you can apply for asylum, but then you keep them illegal for 20 years, then who is that really helping,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm guessing asylum and work visas as well. Is that what you're saying?
So there's different ways. Yeah, there's some of them are work visas, farm workers that are here, temporary as well. So there's different types.
SB ones. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I was just curious what you meant when you say, but I've heard some people say things like, we have the border just so open, and because I do agree with you, we probably do have all these corporations that want to have, cheap labor, and it's kind of like we're going to entice them in by not having the border secured, and we do want the workers, and we're not going to actually kick anybody out. So I can see how it could be seen as inviting in. Right. But yeah, most of this we agree on. I think like when you're talking about the current administration and what they're doing, yeah, I think it'd be hard to find a lot of people would argue the tactics of ICE and what they're doing as what their intention was supposed to be when the department was created. I mean, we do need borders. I think most people agree on that. We do need to have know who's coming in and who's not. You're supposed to be here. But I think when you said reform, very specifically about reform, and this is what's driving me nuts for pretty much every election, almost ever, when they talk about immigration, and when Trump was all talking about we need to secure the border, I think we can do both at the same time. And by reform, make the process more efficient so that the people that do want to come here, that have a reason to be here, can come here. We do have a labor, not just cheap labor shortage, we just have a labor shortage problem. Like there is big projects we have going on in this country. We're going to have, I guarantee we're going to have an energy crisis sooner than later. And they've got to figure that out of whether we're going to go nuclear, more coal, go full on with solar, whatever it is. Going to need a lot of people to work on this stuff. And so if they can make that program where it's, hey, we need specific people, if you're willing to take on, on-the-job training type, what's the word I'm looking for with that, when you apprenticeships.
Apprenticeships, yeah.
Get people that wanted to get into apprenticeships because we do need them. That's what we can also bring in. Currently we have a system where, I had to look it up because I was like, what does it take to, if somebody's not from here, what does it take to come here to make a legal status, case? And it's, I think the most one generically, growing up hearing is, I met somebody in another country, come marry me, you're an American.
Yeah.
So I get that as one concept that can make sense. If I met somebody from another country, but this is mine, I like to have that option there. But some of the other things we had, I didn't even realize. We have a lottery system where, well, a bunch of countries just totally arbitrarily, all over, we're not represented from this country, we'll have a lottery, you win. To me, that seems like a very just, at this point in age, haphazard way of doing it. So when it comes to reform, I think there is things we can do and should do. And I hate the whole talk. Everyone keeps saying reform, reform, reform. Let's see some action from somebody that actually says, here's what my plan is to do that. So I'd love to see it reformed. Regarding the border, this is probably one part I disagreed most with when Trump ran. And I'm not going to give credit or say he did the right things, because I saw the complete absurdity of some of the arguments, in my opinion, which was like, the build the wall. That was what he won the first election on. Build the wall. And the idea of you can hop a wall, go around the wall, all these things. But it was interesting. I kind of was listening to some old of his your podcast on there, like one you were on. And it was interesting because these are kind of like a time capsule. It was March of 2024. So we go back to that world. I don't even think Kamala was even in the election yet at that time for running. I think it was still Biden and Trump.
Yeah.
And it was still a conceit, that we would not be able to stop the border. But we look at the numbers, compared to where they were to what they are now, it's insanely drastically slowed down. Now, some would argue that's partially because, you made it so bad. We all kind of suffer and nobody wants to come here in a way, but I don't know if that's true. But I think there is ways, when it comes to reform, what are the secure ways that we can have our borders secured? And I don't think that's a hateful thing. I mean, I used to think it really was. And sometimes I think people do, intentionally mean it to be hateful. But other countries, you go there, they have borders, you got to show your passport. They want to know who's coming in. You're not just going to freely walk in and out. So I do see there is some value in making sure that we have a secure border, but also we need to have a process that is more efficient. We've got technology that's unbelievable, almost scary, that we can have more people come.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a really positive thing. And it is kind of an unfair thing that, I'll even give it as a given. I'm not saying it was or wasn't, but for all those years that we were leaving the door open unintentionally, intentionally, well, we have people that are here now, and especially like when they talk about the Dreamers, which was those people that did not even know they weren't American. They didn't know anything different. And now they're like adults. They don't have citizenship, but they don't know. There's no country for them to go back to. I don't remember where I was living when I was 3. I know I was from here, but if you said, no, sorry, made up, you're from Guatemala, I'd be like,
yeah,
damn, I can't speak even any of the way. You want me to go? I think as a human being, we should be able to go, that doesn't make sense. And so I do think there's a lot of things we should be doing in regards to the people that are here already. I know that's a big hot button issue of amnesty. If you're here, you got to go. And I'm agreeing with you on, I don't think anybody was truly against, criminals got to go. But rounding literally every single person that's up to go, like I was at a community event in Emporia about last fall, and they were going, over here, this was literally a story. It was crazy. You got to get these amazing tacos from the nuns, but you better go today because they're getting deported. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. We're deporting the nuns that have awesome tacos? That's where we're at now. So that part kind of stuff, I'm like, the lack of common sense in some of this stuff. And I'm not saying because they make good tacos and they're nuns, they get to stay, and somebody that works the job over here has to go. But it has to be done in a way of, if you are a actual criminal, you should go.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if
we'll leave this to open discussion. You can just set the timer to 10 minutes again, just so we can monitor it.
Yeah.
So if the Biden administration and the Trump administration wanted to end immigration, they can do it tomorrow. All they have to do is hold accountable the corporations that hire illegal immigrants in the first place. But this is all by design. This is by design from the start. what people need to realize in America is that this system is completely by design. These people that are coming over, these Latinos that are coming over that don't speak a lick of English and are stealing your job, that's not a thing. This is by design. This is so that you can get paid less money because they can pay them less money.
I agree.
And so we need a system. We need a reform. We also do need immigrants to grow the country. The American people aren't having enough babies. That's a thing. That is a thing. There's a huge problem in America. The birth rates have completely dropped. And that's because the middle class is really, really, really struggling to the point where the last thing that they think about is having more kids, right? I mean, it puts a strain on the family. And so what happens is that because we have this huge labor shortage, that's when people take drastic measures, like the Biden administration, who said, okay, let's basically open up the borders and bring in a lot of people so that we can have these workers for our corporate handlers, right? Because Joe Biden was just a puppet as Donald Trump was. Let's open up these borders because our corporate handlers are telling us we need more immigrants in the country and we want cheap labor, and you work for me. You don't work for the American people, and you do what I say. And that's the real problem. If we don't have an immigration reform where we can bring people into the country and do the process legally to where we hold them, we make them citizens, put them in process to citizenship, then we're just gonna continue on this endless loop, and we're gonna see things that we're seeing now, with kids being snatched up, families being snatched up and ripped apart.
Wait, do you guys mind if I weigh in just for a second?
Yeah,
since this is an open,
yeah,
I'm going to let you guys debate, but I'm just going to casually sprinkle in some of my thoughts on this just from hearing both of you.
Yeah.
So your side of it, I'm trying to understand, because it kind of seems like it's conflicting what you're discussing with them not stealing your jobs.
Yeah.
But then you're saying, though, their corporations are abusing the hourly wages by making them so low to where immigrants are going to be the only ones that are going to stand up and take those jobs. You know what I mean? Americans are going to kind of stray away from it.
Basically.
Because we know there's different, not every immigrant, but we know a lot of them that will buy one house and there'll be 2 families or 4 single guys or whatever it may be, living in a house. So they're able to take the $20 an hour, whatever it may be. So in my mind, that is almost like stealing jobs. I'm libertarian. I'm all for pay your guys whatever you want. I get that. But there comes a point to where when you're allowing a mass influx of immigrants over our border, and then you're basically going, well, I got my own company and I can pay them what I want. Well, it's like, yeah, but for the people here, you can't abuse the fact of people coming over that are making significantly less in one area, and they're coming up here, and it's a huge pay raise for them, and then going, well, yeah, I'm doing a good deed. It shouldn't be a conflict. And then say that they're not stealing jobs. It, in a sense, is like stealing jobs, because if they didn't have them to pick from, they would have to raise their wages to meet the demand of the American people, what they need. You know what I mean? So that's just my thought on that.
Well, and that's kind of articulating something I was trying to, in my head, put is, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but in essence, you're saying Biden had the door open. Are you saying, I'm not saying you are, but what Trump has accomplished so far with the border, would you say regards to jobs and that, are you in favor of that?
No, not at all.
Okay. I mean, so maybe not the tactic he did.
I thought you made that clear.
Not the tactic, the approach he went, but the securing of the border you wanted to see.
Well, no. Well, everybody knows we need a secure border, right? We do need a secure border. I mean, that's just no doubt about that, right? You don't want to let criminals and stuff like that into the country. There's human trafficking, there's drugs, there's a lot of, so you need a secure border, right? So that I agree with, right? Every country needs it.
But like you said, you're for immigration because it builds countries.
Are you for, let me ask a question, this might clarify it.
Yeah.
are you for, like, if let's say we did reform, it's efficient, would you be for every person that's, let's just be real blunt or simple, like that's not a criminal that wants to come here and be an American citizen, stamped, we checked you, it took us 2 minutes, you're an American. Now, you're now legally here. You're an American just like all of us. Is that what you'd be for?
I believe there's 153 countries that we are directly responsible for in coups, that we've basically went into these countries and completely destroyed their economies to the point where they don't have livable wages in their countries. In a way, we're responsible for some of these people. I'm not saying we're going to bring the whole country over and say, okay, yeah, you can come and blah, blah. But there has to be a process, and this is where I say reform, where we get as many people as we need in the country, right? I would say that. To grow the country, to grow our economy and grow as a country. But to avoid the whole problem of people being hired illegally in the first place, we absolutely have to cut the head off, right? Which is go after the corporations and say, okay, enough is enough. If you hire illegal help, we're gonna find you as a company, we're gonna find you as a corporation, and because you're exploiting not only immigrants, but you're exploiting the American people because you're paying less money for your workers, and so that creates a situation where immigrants won't come here illegally. They would have to come through the legal process, and I'm not saying let's open the borders and open up the floodgates. I'm saying we do need immigrants to grow the country. So
and that's what I was kind of trying to understand. And so, there's two parts there, and I won't go into too much detail because I'll say up front my background and what happened in, I believe it was like the 50s to the 80s with a lot of South American countries. Not 100% expert on it, but even let's go with it as given that we did do that. It kind of comes down to, okay, that now affects us now. It can be a moral issue. It can be just your, what you feel we should do. But also at the same time, I could see a lot of Americans going, yeah, that's awful what happened back in the 50s, but not my problem. I'm trying to actually have a job now. Like, I can't address for that. Mm-hmm. And but given the idea, I totally agree. And you've made this point also several times when it comes to this subject of, I agree. Like, when you have companies knowingly having it for the cheap labor, and it's exploitative 100%. If you say, we can't even hire you, and you put that, what is it, E-Verify?
Yeah.
Make that mandatory across the board.
The problem is it's a mandatory in a lot of like prevailing wage jobs, but there's ways around it.
Oh, is there?
That's the thing that I've always tried to get people understand. It's nice to think that we can make things like foolproof, but people find a way around everything.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
And that's the issue that I see a lot. It's that like these politicians, they come out and and they say, for instance, the speech with the Mamdani in New York. Yep. Giving the same rhetoric of, we're going to show you guys that government can find solutions to all. And it's like, I get it. I get what you're saying, but I've heard this so many times from all these politicians, yet every time government continues to fail. I'm not going to say they fail on everything, because if they did, I think they'd be in a lot worse pickle than what they are now. But they tend to fail a lot.
Oh, true. I agree.
At stuff. So I think what really needs to happen is the immigration process, which they can say, you can go figure that out. Well, why don't you, as the elected leaders, like we always say, why don't you come and explain this to us? You have very many outlets you can choose from. You guys have gone on these things and had huge 30-minute interviews of other topics that you've had discussed, but yet you tend to be very vague in certain areas. And the way into citizenship into our country, or work visas, or whatever that process is, why don't you just come clear as day right there in the fucking White House when there's people, asking, all the reporters in there asking questions, and just line it out for them. Even if it's going to take a little longer than what they normally like to do, what little 10-minute, 15-minute, speeches. I think it would be good for the American people, because just as we know, just like at work, what is usually the first, like the number one thing companies usually have an issue with? Like, that causes the most frustration, causes the most mismanagement, causes issues in projects, it's communication. Communication in relationships, at work, with friends, with children. It's the thing that gets discussed the most, and we know it's there, but yet we fail to figure out how to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And so I think if they really would get down to it, which they won't, just like you said, they're working for people who don't want that to happen. That's the issue. And I think we could finally get people into those positions that are not going to get sold out or bought out. Maybe we could start gearing towards fixing and addressing the issues of technically a majority of the population, because whether or not Democrat or Republican, the biggest topic right now is the biggest issue in my mind is what is that the that's a loud timer. No, you're good, bro. No, we're good now. The biggest issue is cost of living.
Yeah.
Everyone is having that issue right now. I'm sure you guys are feeling it. I mean, no matter, even if you're making over $100,000 a year, you're feeling it, and you notice the difference. You know what I mean? You can feel it. Now, the severity is gonna be different from person to person, but that's what needs to be focused, because if it was, I think we'd be a lot more united. Not saying we're going to be completely united. We're always going to have some differences, but that would help.
And that's kind of like when we were having talking about immigration. I remember during the election, and it came up a lot. When it was an interesting comment back towards, like, it was typically, I would say, not always, but typically a liberal person would say, thinking it was a strong point of, well, who's going to pick your your fruits, and anybody would if you pay it the way it could.
Correct.
Like, they are jobs that people would do. And so the argument that was said back, I was like, that's pretty good, is, are you basically saying you want to keep slave labor just to keep your strawberries cheap? Is that what you're basically saying? We want to keep illegal status. And that's why I think, if somebody was trying to fight back towards somebody that was very strong on immigration regarding borders and, send them back, those type of people, I think a very strong response would be, no, we need to get more efficient with who is here, how they can get here. Because, if everyone, let's just go the opposite extreme. Everyone that was here was American. Well, even if I was not from here, but now an American, and you have this job and you're paying significantly less. Well, number one, I mean, I don't know how this exactly works, but I'm pretty sure, like, let's say the minimum wage, for example. You can't pay the under-the-table cash wages that people are willing to do, because they're going to go, I can get a job anywhere. They're restricted to these, unfortunately, low-paid, abused jobs.
And that's why Leo said, he's like, we need to give them a pathway to citizenship, so that way the workers' visas aren't getting abused.
And so I'm with you on that, where it comes to holding the companies accountable, because, anytime you have, I mean, I'm with you more on this, on the libertarian view of pay people what you want, but the free market will decide, because, like, I see that every day at work with the trucking world. Is the American drivers that have been here for 30 years, they are used to getting paid a lot more. They're more selective. They can get certain routes that people will pay for, but your normal cheap routes that go out there, we have an influx of people from all over the world. And they take per hour rates that the guys have been here 30 years ago, I can't touch it for that. I won't do that. And it brings the overall pay of those guys down. But then it's that balancing act of cost of living. How will we eventually balance out? Like, okay, now we are paying a livable wage or even just minimum wage to those that are picking fruit. Well, your grocery bill is going to go up. There's no way around that. So those are going to be some of those unintended consequences when we start changing things that we're going to have to be prepared for.
But we've had this discussion before. What happens when those strawberries do go up? Sales go down. And then what happens to those corporations? They are going to be sitting there in their meeting and discussing, hey, guys, sales are down 20%. What the hell do we have to do to get people to buy freshly picked strawberries from our company? Oh, well, I don't know. Let's try this, and this. And then when this doesn't work, sorry, guys, we're going to have to drop profit. We're going to have to drop prices. You know what I mean? But if they don't have to deal with that and they can just hire this guy from El Salvador that's going to do it, then they can continue abusing that price. You know what I mean? When it's not real, that's not an American citizen that's picking that vegetable or that fruit. And this is why I agree with you, is that like, I am for immigration. My thing is though, first is I want the American people taken care of before we allow people over the border to be able to have the American dream that we all have. And in order to do that, you can't have this guy from El Salvador dangling a work visa over him and never a pathway to true citizenship, because I know what you're doing. You're keeping him in this box so that way he can never grow out and actually get this $30 an hour job or be paid $30 an hour for picking strawberries. That's my issue. Or even in the construction industry, in the trucking industry, we're seeing it all over. So we need to stop that. And to be on one side or the other, to be open borders completely or shut borders completely, they're both wrong. There is a center where we can all meet. It needs to be explained. It needs to be shown to all of us. The process needs to be reformed. And unfortunately, right now, they let it get so bad to where now it's like, look what we're having to do. You know what I mean? Which we don't have to. We've discussed this, the tier systems. I've talked about this many times, that there was a way to be able to do that. But when you have two parties continually fighting each other and not wanting to budge, nothing's going to get done. So yeah. I appreciate your guys both sides on that. Let's move on to the next topic. Sure. Was there anything, you guys all good? Okay, good. Cool. All right, next topic we're doing, which pretty much we kind of discussed right now, is the economic inequality, cost of living versus the American paycheck. So did you go first last time? Or no, you went first, didn't you?
I don't remember, but I can go. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Whatever. Whichever.
Did Leo go? Oh, yeah, well, whoever wants to start.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, yeah, I heard you mention Mandami, Saron Mandami out of New York, the new mayor. And so I thought I'd bring him up, right? Because he's everything the establishments don't want. Both Democrats and Republicans aggressively went after him to the point where even Republicans were saying that Chris Cuomo was their guy, which was amazing, because only a few years ago they were saying Chris Cuomo was a terrorist and this and that about him, right? But this is why Mandami is so important, right? And whether he's right or wrong, we can discuss that, right? But Mandami doesn't represent those corporations, right? He took zero money from PACs, right? Absolutely no money from PACs, from lobbyists or nothing like that. In fact, there was $40 million spent against Mandami by Israel, by their super PAC, AIPAC, right? And so that's how much of a threat Mandami is to someone like to these establishments, right? And so you have, you even had fake activist groups, fake activist groups saying that Mandami was not for black people, or Mandami was a what do they call the Israeli people who are against Israel? They were I forget the name, what they call them, but they were saying that he was a Zionist or whatever about Israel, right? And 67% of the people during the primaries, 67% of the people, of the Jews, voted for Mandami out of New York during the primaries, which is amazing, right? So if he really was an anti-Semite, the Jews probably wouldn't be voting for him, but they did in record number. As a matter of fact, it was a record of 2 million people that came out and voted for Mandami. And so this is what we need. We need change in America. We don't need those same establishments coming in and out and just telling the American people the same things and not actually ever doing anything.
Okay. Well, did you want to touch on at all the cost of living or anything like that?
For the cost of living, cost of living has gotten out of control.
I know that one kind of we discussed a little bit, because immigration and cost of living.
Go back and forth a little bit too in there.
I just kind of went through.
You got 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we can go back and forth too.
Yeah.
But
so I was going because you said Mandami, but yeah, no. So
So basically, the economic inequality,
right,
in America.
So in America, we have a system that we have socialism in America right now. This is socialism. It's socialism for the rich, right? This is why you see corporations like Amazon pay zero money in taxes some years. This is why you see millionaires and billionaires pay less money than their secretary, as far as percentages and all that stuff like that. So we have a system that's socialist for the rich. And I always try to, when I talk politics, I try to explain it in a way that, most people can understand, because a lot of Republicans have these certain talking points, right? And so you want to say it in a way that everyone can explain. So that's why I explain it this way when I talk about Mandami, and he calls himself a democratic socialist, right, for the working class. That's what he calls himself. Right. And so basically Mandami is going around saying we need to work for the middle class of America. Because trickle down economics, socialism for the rich doesn't work. They don't typically go. There's only so many rich people in the country, right? They don't contribute to the economy as if we had a strong middle class. If we had a strong middle class and everybody was going out to restaurants pretty regularly, was spending money, was buying clothes, that contributes to the economy. That creates more jobs. That grows our country. But when you have billionaires who don't pay nothing into our system, have their money in the caveman's, bank in Switzerland, have their main office in Ireland because they can get away with whatever the hell they want, that's not a system for the American people. These aren't no longer American companies. They have shareholders from all over the world. So these, even though they started in America, these are no longer American companies. And so what do you have? You have a system that completely fails the American people. You have roads like we have here in Missouri with potholes everywhere. And that's not a system that we had back in the 60s, in the 70s, 80s, where our government worked for us, and we built something in America that the world had never seen. We'd build skyscrapers in New York. We were the envy of the world, right? And now, New York is full of rats. I mean, that's what it is. And so we're looking like fools around the world, and we can't continue down that path. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
can you restart that clock for me? All right.
I'll kind of stay with this. I would say where I'm assuming, agree on is we all want basically, we're all middle class. We want a strong middle class. We don't want to have, whether it's poor people, middle class people, we just want to have the ability to have a good life. I think that's an assumed agreeance on most of us. It's how we get there, how we get it the most effective for the longest lasting. I'll kind of touch on, it was great that we had the timely, we had a good night to have, a very timely, it'll be kind of a good place marker, since you started a little bit on the election. It was monumental, but here's my concern is whether he's anti-Semitic or not, I'm not going to get into it. I think that was a little bit of both-sidedness from that whole thing. I don't even care about that. What I do care about is, he is a democratic socialist coming out promising free stuff. That's essentially what he got excitement on is. And I heard an interesting brief thing on, we were talking about, and maybe you can add insight onto this because it was involving Venezuela.
Yeah.
Is we are following a trajectory of Venezuela where in the 80s they're thriving. Now, granted, a lot of that was from their oil money that tanked. They based a lot of their economy on that, but there's other things. But during that time frame, the wealthy were benefited. A lot of the politics were generated towards them. Then, as it moved on, the middle class evaporated, and then you came up with free stuff. And everyone had an equal vote, just like here. And we saw there, they went into full-on socialism, communism, that whole world. And their economy, their lifestyle is tanked. And that is my concern is, while we have this transitional figure. He's very charismatic. He is as charismatic as you're going to see. But it's the contradictory thing you brought up that I'm kind of curious on is, well, everyone believes that we all should pay. We all pay a lot of taxes. I write a check every quarter. I'm like, it's a lot of money. There you go. We've brought it up at other times before. You brought it up on if everyone would pay their taxes via not having it taken out of your check, but write it. You do feel where it goes.
That was Milton Friedman's biggest. Sorry to
yes,
cut
no,
your
you're
time.
fine,
That was his
but
biggest
true.
regret.
It is.
It's what I heard.
And my question is, so when he's paying, tell me how to say his name right. I keep saying it wrong. I haven't paid.
Mamdani?
Saran Mandami, I think.
Mandami, okay.
I can't even say it right.
I was like, I keep hearing it. I'm like,
They know who we're talking
I
about.
saw someone last night. They were making fun of everyone getting it wrong, and I'm like, I'm just as bad. So, but he says he's going to pay. He wants to give a lot of his concepts. I don't disagree with, but I think there is going to be a lot of potential unintended consequences that will happen. Now, you might argue and say, well, at least we're getting change, and that's fine. But it's as long as it can be directed, because he's promising free childcare to everybody there 5 weeks old and up. Now, having had kids, that is a hell of an expense. And I can see the concept of, well, if I don't have to pay that expense, now I've got money that can go into the economy. Now I can afford more, obviously. I can even get a job if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad. There's those options. So I can see the benefits. But he says he's going to pay for it with raising the tax on the ultra-wealthy. And this is where the contradictory question is. If they're not paying taxes, well, how are we taxing them? Because we're not taxing them because they're in the Caymans. They're here. And the other thing about when you're banking on paying for things via taxing the rich, the wealthy, is, A, they don't make income via, W-2 or income based. A lot of it is capital gains based, which is a different tax. That's why when you hear things of my secretary, when Warren Buffett says my secretary pays less in taxes, percentage-wise, to be very clear about people sometimes say, oh, that's not true.
Yeah,
But percentage-wise,
yeah.
But that's because it's capital gains versus the earned income. That's currently our system. And if most of these ultra-wealthy are making money in capital gains, they do also things to, whether it's, I've heard all kinds of, just read things, wild things like life insurance where they actually never earn income. They borrow from it, so they're always in debt, and then they have an inheritance that they give to their kids, but then that gets wiped away. I'm not going to get in the weeds of it, but they're getting around it. They have enough money to avoid the taxes. So when he has this program of we need $8 billion to pay for this, it's going to eventually get a fall on the middle class potentially. That's not even regarding the implementation of trying to do mass government-run, essentially, childcare. Now, what I would say regarding income inequality, what I would say how to improve the middle class, I would see it from a different approach, and it is out there. The quick fix is, I've read on, and I don't disagree, like I said, on some of these ideas. The quick fix would be, raise the minimum wage, tax code, and so forth. But what I think can get, and it can be proven to get the most benefit with the least risk, is making it more opportunity for people, not the corporations, but the small business. And how we do that is fighting the monopolies. Like you want to fight how they become billionaires? Well, when you build a company, yeah, I believe you deserve the success that you built. You took it from ground up. But when you get to the point where you become so big that either you are leveraging your enormous size of a company like Facebook. Oh, this other company, Instagram, that's similar like us. We'll buy them. Well, we have laws to prevent that. These monopoly laws are there to prevent that. So we need to get aggressive on stopping these companies, the mergers. That's what you look at these big corporations. Look at like PepsiCo. They own everything. You look, there's like 5-6 companies that own all these subsidiaries. There's not just one company. If all these were small businesses, now there's way more competition. If we would fight to have the monopolies and antitrust laws actually strengthened, it's going to be hard to impossible because you have the money behind with these major corporations funding the politicians, as I agree that's true. But what we do typically is, on one hand, I agree with you. Mandami, the mayor of New York, he is not paid by these people. But that doesn't mean there's no ulterior motive. He wants to be in charge. And he probably does. If you listen to his speech, in my opinion and others, he does have a national, he's not just going to be satisfied with being in New York. He is trying to be on a national platform. How do I get that? Well, that's what's concerning. If it's promise the free stuff, free busing. I mean, everything he kept saying last night was free, free, free. Free busing for everybody. Free childcare. I mean, if I'm a working person in New York, yeah, I'm going to be for that. I don't care how you get there. That's great. It's the unintended consequences that can and does happen that would be my biggest concern over there. Because if we have a tax base in New York City of this much, my buddy in Florida is already saying, oh, our realtors are telling us our property value is going up because people are already making phone calls to get out of there and relocate, because the middle class and poor, they're not mobile. Has mobile, I should say. I mean, they can move, but it's the wealthy, they're as mobile as it gets. Their money's even more mobile. If they think that they're being attacked, right or wrong, nothing is keeping them there in that jurisdiction. They can leave and take it elsewhere. Now, will it be everybody? No. But it could be enough to be a problem to where when it comes to funding these promises, we could have problems. Also, a lot of the promises made are still banked on the state approving it. What will be interesting is, I mean, hey, I hope it works. If it worked, nobody's against these things from working. If it's as simple as, yeah, you got $40 billion, we're going to tax you 2%, you're not even going to notice it, and now everyone's got child care and the economy is booming because of that, awesome. I'm all for it. It's the potential unintended consequences of implementing it that would be concerning. And then two, the actual implementation of things. Like when you talk about the free busing, we are a much smaller transit system in Kansas City. And busing is an extreme issue of trying to fund it. There, I can only imagine the funding issue.
So I gotta.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so here's the thing. This.
Are you done? On
Yeah,
your side?
go ahead.
Okay, let's reset and throw on 10 minutes just for open discussion.
So here's what I mean when I say socialism for the rich, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll give you a perfect example here in Kansas City when it comes to exactly that, busing and public transportation. Mm-hmm. So when they first started coming out with the streetcar and they said, okay, we're going to make this completely free of charge to the people living in downtown and one of the more expensive areas in the city. Mm-hmm. People were outraged. How is it that you're just going to give free transportation to these people who are basically living in one of the most expensive areas of Kansas City? So what they did was they went back and said, okay, we'll make the buses free as well. So we'll make everything completely free of charge. What happened last year? Of course, we ran out of money. So when we ran out of money, they said, oh, we're going to completely cut off all transportation, all buses in the city, completely. Who cares about the middle class? We're just going to cut them off. And they said, or we work out a deal where you have to now pay for public transportation, but then you don't charge the people using the streetcar. So that's what I mean by socialism for the wealthier people.
Well, okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that particular part. A, nothing's free. B, I personally pay for the streetcar. It comes on our property tax. We see it. It sees it right there. If you're living along, it was paid for by those living along the streetcar line. So whether businesses, residences, all your property tax, it's coming from a portion of it is that. I'm not 100% sure that it's fully paid via that way, but it is paid from those that are also benefiting in that area.
The same thing with the buses, and the people are also paying for those buses as well, coming out of their taxes. So
they are.
So the argument becomes, who needs it the most, right? Is it the middle class? They have to get to work. They depend on buses. They travel an hour to work, an hour out of work, just to get to and from work, because it's nearly impossible for a lot of these people in Kansas City to even afford a car. I mean, you'll be amazed how many people need public transportation. So for us to give it to the wealthiest of our citizens for completely free of charge, again, socialism for the rich. That's the problem.
Well, I agree.
Hey, can I
go ahead, please.
real quick?
Yeah.
If you see me on my phone over here, I'm kind of looking up some of the stuff you guys are talking about.
This
is just a quick AI overview, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But The Kansas City streetcar is paid through a voters-approved Transportation Development District, TDD, which collects revenue from sales tax on purchases within the district, special assessments on nearby property, and a supplemental assessment on surface parking lots. This funding model allows for the streetcar to be fare-free for riders. Federal grants also contribute significantly to the construction costs of the system.
So it's basically
I know you guys.
And so, I mean, based on what you're saying on there, I mean, it kind of backs up what I've kind of vaguely seen. But so the feds are offering money. Should they? Shouldn't they? I mean, libertarian probably say
we
no.
We discussed the sub-D issue. Yeah,
but they've done it. So they're basically saying the money's there to be taken. It's kind of like that COVID money that was. Remember that about a year ago? They almost lost it, but there was like Kansas City had X amount of dollars that was going to come because of COVID. Like it was like a whatever part of the giant deal they did.
Yeah.
But it became either we take it, and if we don't use it, we lose it because it goes back to the feds. And it's like, great, we did a solid for Montana and all the other states, but the city wouldn't.
And the issue that bothers me on that, too, is a lot of the time the federal government will use it as a bargaining tool with states, and I don't like that as well. So just like we're seeing right now with Trump and Newsom in California, it's like if you don't play ball, we're going to make it difficult for you. Not saying he's using that carrot, but I've heard these discussions before, and they have been used as like if you don't play ball with us, we're going to withhold federal grant money.
Yeah,
so
no, it is.
That's what worries me about
yes,
that stuff.
It's anytime you take the money, it is definitely with a carrot that they can pull back or punish.
And that's just
Now, based on what you're saying, if the streetcar is funded via that way, it's taking advantage of improving our city in that area. It's a tourist improvement. It's a commerce improvement from that area. It is wealthy because those things are invested in there. I agree. I've heard it argued when it was originally voted on the first time on the streetcar, it's a toy. It's not actual usage. I will say the streetcar has been a success in my opinion compared to other cities. It is fully full of riders. I mean, anytime I'm on there, it is very packed.
Do you believe because it's new?
It's been around almost 4 or 5 years, and I think it's going to get more
new in the grand scheme of other streetcars. Chicago, these other major cities.
Milwaukee be the one I compare most with. They came out the same. It's about the same timing. But the thing that's different is theirs kind of goes in a square, and they're all toys, and really, but
because ours just goes up and down.
But
north
our
south.
City, I think, and I'll argue on another subject, as you know, is very specific, and I think it does benefit our city in the way of our downtown, which is the heart of the city, has always been Union Station to River Market, and that's kind of always been either you're in the River Market area or you're in Power Light was never a thing until it was, and then now this is connected at all, so it has made a more mobile downtown, and now the expansion that they've done has taken it now from all the way to UMKC to Berkeley Riverfront. It has made it a more connected city where it's not just I'm in Westport, I'm in the plaza. It made people more feel that they can go and utilize more of the city. So we're kind of busing. I'd be curious to know, is busing specifically from Kansas City, it comes out of property tax? Like where are people getting, is there a property tax where people are paying into the busing?
So everything essentially comes from the taxpayers, right? It doesn't matter if it's a streetcar or...
Where specifically?
So all areas essentially pay for busing, right? So whether it's Independence, it's Jackson County, whatever, right? All these areas pay for busing. Some
How though?
Out of taxes, out of sales taxes, out of
taxes?
Property taxes. Everything essentially comes from the people's taxes, right? And here's the problem is that, and to go back to what you said earlier, because you had mentioned something about, these billionaires will leave if Mondami taxes them, which he's trying to tax them 2%. 2% higher taxes, and then he wants to raise the corporate tax from 7.25 to 11.5. So it's not much of an increase, right? But if these billionaires who pay nothing in taxes are leaving, are they really hurting New York? I mean, at the end of the day, are they really hurting New York? They're contributing nothing to the economy. They're contributing nothing to the state, right? If they leave, someone else will step in and they'll create a corporation. This is why we have the system that we have.
Wait a minute. You're saying that if they left, somebody's going to create a corporation in that area To be taxed higher?
Someone would for sure. I mean, in the 1960s, anything over 400,000 was taxed at 91% here in America. 91%. That's the equivalent of now making $4.3 million if you're a married couple, or $2 million if you're single.
That's federal, though, right?
So you were charged. I don't know, but it was a tax rate.
Though,
that was a tax.
Basically, if that's a tax code, which I understand, if it's federally, you can't escape that unless you want to leave the country, which some now do. But regarding New York, though, if there is a company that leaves, I don't see a company going, it's going to be a thriving place to jump in. Let's go to the place that's super high in tax, because they're only leaving if they don't need to physically be there. If they can go, we can do what we do elsewhere. When you're raising it 2% and then 4% for corporate tax increases, that's not a big increase. I agree.
Not compared to the 91% back in the 60s.
No. Again, but that's the difference between federal income tax, which was the 91%, and a corporate tax. The corporate income tax was not 91% back then.
Let me look that up. No, for the corporate.
Corporate. While you're looking that up, I just wanted to address the Metro bus situation. So it's funded through a combination of federal, state, and local sources, including city and regional sales tax, fares, and general funds. While fare-free service is ending, the city contributes significant funding, supplemented by sales tax revenue.
Was that done? Can you see if that was done prior to the streetcar, if that was always that way, or was it fare fund? I'm just kind of curious.
Dom, can you look that up?
I'm just because that is a difference.
So here, because you asked the question about, question about the corporate sales tax in 1960, it was at 52%. Mondami wants to raise it to 11.5%. So there's a huge difference.
Not to interrupt you, just so I can understand.
Raise or decrease?
Was that 52% the federal, or was that...
That was the corporate tax.
But was that federally corporate tax? Or is that the... reason why I ask is because it makes a difference. If you're talking a federal deal, that means we're talking who's in Congress in D.C. versus who's in Albany, New York City. I guess that's where the mayor obviously be.
Right.
That is a giant difference, because it's the mobility of the money that makes the difference. If you can't escape it, it is what it is.
Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because I'm kind of seeing what Leo's...
That's federal. Yep.
Is it federal?
Yeah, it's federal.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, we've discussed my views. You've discussed all your guys' views, so you know my thought process. But what he kind of brought up is that somebody would fill the void. And I'm going to throw this out here and see what you both think. I think in your mind, you're like, well, who the hell is going to fill that void? They're going to get taxed out the ass. Why would they even want to do that?
True.
But at the same time, have you thought about people not always needing to make such huge profits in order to feel like they can live a normal life? You know what I mean? So could that person open up a company? Let's say they're going to sell shoes, and Nike already got the hell out of there because they're not paying that shit. Or if they're there, I don't know if they're there or not. But let's say, okay, well, that guy's only going to make in profit for himself what he's going to pocket after he's taxed, after he has to pay his employees, after he has to pay everything else, his vendor, whatever he has to do. He's only going to walk away $80K, $100K. Let's say 100. Sure. Keep it at that. He's okay with that. He's got one store. He makes $100K.
Totally. No,
he's getting taxed out the ass.
Yes.
So it's a possibility, what Leo's saying.
It's two things. If it's a physical need to be in New York City, do I think the Wall Street traders are leaving anytime soon? No. They're going to absolutely stay there. But if you're running a corporation that you based in New York because you love the international ability of where it's low, and you finally go, we don't need the city of New York to supply us with labor. We could do this in Kansas City. We're going to talk about subsidies a little bit. If Kansas City's going, hey, you know what? They're taxing you out there. We would love to have you here.
Right.
I don't know why you would stay. And then to go in, like you were saying, unless there's a unique labor force that New York has, and you're a corporation looking at Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, all these places, Kansas City, I just don't see where raising the tax would make somebody want to go, I want to jump into there.
I don't think it does to companies that are already established, but I think what he's saying is some guy, Tom Woods, might go, well, fuck, man, I know how to make shoes. I can open up a spot
but you said
here.
100,000. Is that 2% hopefully that 2% ain't going to the guy only making 100,000 in a little small business. We're talking about the ultra wealthy.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
could be anywhere.
Yeah, not the middle class.
They can get the hell out of there. If you're ultra wealthy and you're going, Miami's looking awful good right now.
No, yeah, and they can.
And I'll give you an agreement.
I was just saying that the void would be, it could possibly be filled.
But when you're talking about the small percent, here's what I'll agree with you, because we did it in Kansas on the reverse. About 10 years ago, Brownback thought he was going to have the genius idea to get rid of income tax for business owners in Kansas. And he thought he was going to get everyone from Missouri to hop over the border. And people in Missouri go, we're not overtaxed in Missouri. And you want us to pick up and move over there and inconvenience all my employees. Yeah. It didn't do any of that. We went bankrupt basically in the state and he was gone. So I agree with you. In the small percents, it's not going to run out the guy making 100,000. But if you are a wealthy person that says, hey, I made my address New York, you know what? It can be LA or Ireland for all I care. I'm out of here because this is getting ridiculous. When you stack, that's why I asked about the federal tax percent versus the state and city. You look at a state like California, they've gotten out of hand with taxes where you have the city and the state, and they keep stacking the taxes on tax, and you still have the federal taxes. People are going, God damn, I'm getting, taxed to insane levels. I'm going to Texas. They can mobily leave. And Missouri and Kansas, both those are Midwest cities. We are not taxed high. We have a city tax. We have sales tax. We do, I would love them to be lower, but it's not outrageous here. If you're in New York and you start stacking these taxes that are already not small, New York does not already have a small tax rate.
Right.
There is a breaking point. Now, maybe he's right. Maybe he did not hit that breaking point and everything will be great, and I hope it is. But that would be my unintended consequence, which we're going to see. This, like, what we don't have enough anymore is those laboratories of democracy, as they say with the states. We have one in a city now. Now, granted, that city, how many people is New York up to now?
Oh, I don't know the exact population of New York.
I bet that's a quick Google, but it's interesting because when people talk about other countries to relate the democratic socialism.
8.4 million.
Okay, that's
2024.
So I saw it today. Finland was listed as a democratic socialist country. They have half the population of an entire country, as just that city does. So it will be an interesting experiment. One question I want to ask you, I can ask it now because we're in that subject, and curious on your information, whether on the democratic socialist point of view. Because I was reading through, I was very interested. What's a leftist? What's a democratic socialist? All these things. I was trying to understand it. And one of the things I can totally agree with, which was, it said utilities be owned by government. Basically, it was like a lot of things that you have to have, like your water, your electric, and so forth. So there was that listed, but then there was another one that said even basically business should be democratically run by its employees. Is that part of it, or is that not part of the democratic socialist point of view?
There's a lot of propaganda that has nothing to do with socialism for the middle class, for the American people. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. So any of it. Okay. There's no such thing. People confuse communism with socialism, right? And I don't like to use the word socialism because there's a lot of misinformation, and so Mandami, for him to call himself a socialist, in my opinion, was a mistake. I don't think that's a good thing, right? Because people confuse it with communism.
What is it exactly, though?
Socialism is not. So it's basically the opposite of trickle-down economics. The complete opposite of trickle-down economics, where we give everything to the rich, all the tax breaks, all the money in the world, and then eventually that money would trickle down to our middle class. No, we work for the American people. We work for the middle class, and we. That's how we come up as a country. We built the country that we had, right? Because of that. That's how we built America. That's how it was built. So yeah, you don't want to confuse it with the Democrats wanting to give everything for free. That's not a thing. Again, government is supposed to work for you, the people, right? So when you pay when you're paying taxes, for example, when SNAP benefits, did you know that if you make $60,000 a year, $36 out of your paycheck per year goes towards SNAPs? guess how much goes towards corporations and these billionaires, massive oligarchies. $700 per year goes to these oligarchies.
In what ways do they go to them?
Tax breaks, subsidies, you name it. All these different things that we give them for free, right?
Can you expand that real quick? Sorry.
And so that's why I call it.
No, show more.
That's why I call it socialism for the rich.
You're good.
Because essentially, what you have is you're saying, okay, and they try to make SNAP as this big evil thing, but yet 70% of the people that are working full-time jobs are on SNAP benefits. That's because we've created a system in which we give our biggest employer, which is Walmart, which is fast food restaurants. These are our biggest employer. This is what we're known for in America. This is a shame. We shouldn't be known for that as our biggest employer, right? So when you give these corporations and allow them to pay their employees what you're allowing to pay them, what happens is that these people depend on SNAP.
Oh, no, I agree with all this stuff you're saying.
Right?
100%.
They depend on SNAP. And so that's 70% of the people that are on SNAP that depend on this. And only $36 of your paycheck, if you make $60,000 a year, is coming out towards SNAP. And then $700 is coming out of your check for corporate subsidies. So that's what I mean by socialism to the rich.
No, I agree. And that makes a lot of sense. And I've heard that argument made, and I agree with that argument, which is when Walmart, and that's where it gets tricky is, how do you make the fine lines if you were to set like a minimum wage, if you were to set a minimum threshold, is it an employee count? Is it a company volume count? Like Walmart's a perfect example. And I think I would, this would hurt your libertarian side because I hate to.
You like to do that a lot.
I don't. But it's the, I would almost be like, you know what? We can have capitalism and free market, but not you, Walmart. I mean, I'm almost like companies like Walmart where you can go, you know what? You do stand out. And you do thrive on the fact that you can, because if you did not have, I'm not against SNAP. I mean, I think that's a ridiculous, it's always been a ridiculous argument in general where it's, hey, you're taking this budget that's small, that feeds people, even if somebody's abusing it, okay. Like, it's not going to ruin our giant economy. But when a company can basically pay crap, but if they didn't pay crap, or if they didn't have the SNAP benefits, and they didn't have all the other government help to somebody that is in that income status, they would never be able to work there because I can't feed myself, my kids, I can't live indoors, all these things I'm going to need support of because you pay me this little. So it would almost, it's one of two things. If you got rid of all those, the safety net, it could solve itself in a very hard period and then it get better because Walmart's going to have anybody showing up to work because they're going to go, I can't work. I'm hungry. I'm going to go rob this guy so I can eat tonight because you don't pay me. So that is one way they could do it. And I'm not even per se against it because I think in the end, if we went through a hard period where we got rid of monopolies and reduced them down to where we had back in the 50s and 60s and even 1800s even, where the small businesses, like literally like 5 people, 10 people, 2 people, your individual self-employed was the norm. Like we've gotten to a point where the norm is now, I go find a big company to work for, and it's wherever, how much education or hookup you have is where you get to fit in. And if we reduced it down to where, we didn't have your Zuckerbergs that own everything. You didn't have some of these weird companies you haven't heard of that own everything. And it was, I can create an IT platform that people might use. I can create a new Coke that somebody might want or a food item or whatever it is. The more small business you have, the more competition you have, the higher incomes people have. I think people have the entrepreneurial spirit to be like, hey, I'm, the barrier to entry is now doable because I'm not, if you're a small business, like a friend of mine's daughter, she was like, she goes, oh, she's such pie in the sky, but I love it. She wants to create, basically she described Amazon. That's what she did. He goes, what are you going to do? You got to take on Amazon? But what a world it'd be in if, I could shop there. Like, that's a cool business. And if you had, you might even make millions, but if you could make a small business, make 200,000, nobody's crying about that. Nobody's going to say that's a stupid business. You'd be like, yeah, make 200,000.
Well, Walmart said the same thing to Amazon when they first started out.
Oh, yeah.
You ever heard that documentary?
Netflix said that Blockbuster said it to Netflix.
Yeah, they had an SUV roll up and what's his name? The owner of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. had him come into the SUV, and they had a big meeting with him. And it was a documentary I listened to a long time ago, but it's kind of wild, almost like mafia type. Yeah. But let me go over a couple of things and we're going to go on the next topic. I got the definition of socialism put up. We can just kind of just read over this real quick. A political and economic theory of social organization, which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. That's not me not knowing how to read. Is that Dom has it on like 5.
I was going to say, my eyes are
the
reading
smallest
this,
print imaginable. There you go.
Hey, we passed the eye test.
So that's the definition. We can come back and talk about that another time. A couple other things I wanted to discuss. The fake supporters, I do think that is a big thing. I see it on both sides. It's weird, very weird. I see it on the Democrat side. I see it on the Republican side. One thing on the Republican side that rubs me the most, have you guys seen this thing where they'll like find these like token black dudes and then like have them speak for them, and it somehow makes them other Republicans think like, oh, well, the black guy over there saying it, so, look, guys, it's real. Like, I'm sure you've seen that before where they do that shit.
There was one guy, it was during when Trump was doing all of his, a lot of his speeches, he was going out, and there was one guy, they could show him like city after city, it was the same guy.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think Democrats do that a lot of the time, sometimes with like immigrants, they'll use them as kind of their poster child. It's odd. They got to stop doing the fake supporter stuff. And then the discussion on the free things, like free daycare, everything being free, it ends up ultimately somebody has to pay for it. I do feel that same way. I feel like Mamdani, which I probably said that wrong as well, but I feel like he is how do I word this? Like a result of the huge divide and the huge neglect on what people actually need. Okay, so when you have a guy come up, like you said, I'm going to make a lot of this shit free for you guys. I know you guys are struggling. I'm going to help you out. How do you not think that's going to fucking like go over? I mean, like I'm watching guys on the conservative side going, well, I mean, look, he's acting more American than a lot of these other politicians. When we discuss the AIPAC situation, him denying AIPAC, when we discuss when they had them all lined up, where's your first visit going to be? Everyone says Israel other than him. He says, I'm going to stay right here in the Bronx, and I'm going to focus on the 5 boroughs. Like, these things are not only that, but then on top of that, him giving this, which I believe is a false pipe dream that everything is going to be free, but because at some point someone's going to pay. But he says all these right things. How did you not think that was going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
To us Americans, we're so used to thinking that, oh, okay, this is free and this is free and this is free, right? He's going to give this for free and this is going to become a communist country, and ooh, you should be scared, communist, right? But okay, I'm gonna tell you a little story here and how I pretty much completely killed any political aspirations, and it was a very, very easy decision for me. And I'm gonna tell you a little story here. So how did I do that? So I've always had heart problems for a very long time. I have so many heart conditions, right? And so I said to myself, if I stay here in America and I do the surgery here in America, even with the best insurance, the best doctors, whatever you want to say, I'm going to pay out of the ass, right? So what did I do instead? I went to Mexico and I applied to become a Mexican citizen so I can be a dual citizen, right? Completely destroying my any political aspirations, whatever, because all someone has to say is you're not an American no longer. You're, you even though I was born and raised here, and and I love this country and I do a lot for this country, a lot of activism work that I don't have to do, and so what happened? I got my Mexican citizenship. This was in November of 2024. This was when. I can tell that Donald Trump was easily going to win the election. And I could tell that because the polling does not lie. This is why you have guys who predict the presidential race, 20 years in advance. 20 years in a row. They can tell exactly who's going to win the presidency because the polls don't lie, and it was pretty obvious Trump was going to win. So what's the first thing that I did? I read Project 2025. I started reading what's on the agenda for Trump because for the first time in history, the corporate landlords of our country's politicians wrote it out. Everything exactly, and Trump is right on schedule, doing exactly what he was told said he was going to do. They said they wanted him to do, and that's why I was able to predict on video exactly what he was going to do. And I don't know if it's because they think he's an idiot, or I don't know if they did that because they thought he wasn't going to be loyal to the corporate lords or whatever you want to call them, oligarchies, right? But they wrote it out, which is amazing, right? Project 2025 is out there, and he's doing everything on that list. So when I applied to become a citizen, of course, I get my citizenship, right, before everybody else, and record number of people did it right after that, right after Trump was elected, and after they started seeing all these, the messes that he was doing, the 10% drop in our dollar, a fucking hot mess. I don't even think I have to explain that. But what happened when I got my Mexican citizenship? I had my ID. Within 30 minutes of having my ID, I went to go to apply for universal health care. And I have my ID in my pocket right now. Within 30 minutes, I had universal health care, meaning everything was completely covered, no questions asked, because you're a Mexican citizen. And the Mexican government doesn't waste their money on wars, endless wars, money to Israel, money to Argentina. They spend their money on their people. It's not that it's free stuff. It's that it's their money. It's the Mexican people's money. This is their tax dollars, right? They don't use it for endless wars like we do here in America. All of my surgeries are going to be completely covered. Completely free of charge, no questions asked. So it was an easy decision for me to become a dual citizen, right? No matter what political aspirations I had in the future, no matter what I wanted to do, I had to do this because I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm paying a crazy amount of money for heart surgery. That's an expensive a thing. So it's, I would argue that it's not free stuff. I would argue it's
Can I ask you a question on that with the dual citizenship?
Yep.
Do you at all feel a little bit of conflict when it comes to that because you're not paying into that system, but yet you're getting the benefits from it?
Well, the Mexican government, once you become a Mexican citizen, it covers your
right.
So they don't look at it like that.
Well, but I see a lot of videos down there, and maybe the politicians or the medical field probably doesn't look at it like that, but the people who are paying taxed and are getting taxed feel that way because we're seeing people down there protest against Central Americans coming up into their country, and as well as Americans that are coming into their country as well. So I just wondered if you felt kind of conflicted on that at all.
When you need life-saving heart surgery, I don't think you look at it that way. And then for me in the future,
right? But looking at it objectively,
I think I'm curious.
That's a good question. Let me answer that first.
Go ahead.
So my plans are to eventually move some of my businesses down there because I've noticed that I make more money over there, and it sounds insane, right? It sounds crazy. But people pay more money for cars in Mexico than they do here. That's one of my little side businesses that I have, right? I don't necessarily control it, but it's like passive income for me. And so I've noticed that, you can sell the cars for a lot more. So why not start a car business over there? The economy's booming. So no, I don't feel guilty that I don't. Because
to go there. Okay.
Yeah, because I plan to.
Just a small quick question. I was kind of curious about I never heard of that before. Like, was there something specific about that you were able to get citizenship so quick there?
So my parents were born in Mexico. They're U.S. citizens.
Did that give you
They're U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, they're U.S. citizens now.
But because they were from there, does that give you?
That gives you automatic citizenship.
Because I'm not going to defend our healthcare system whatsoever. I mean, I'm sitting here literally plotting out how to get to Canada to get some pharmaceuticals for my wife there.
And that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, they're going to Canada or they're going to Mexico.
Did you have insurance when you needed the heart surgery?
No, because I'm self-employed. So I have several little businesses. Yeah,
there's definitely self-employed issues that I've dealt with as well with insurance, and that is an issue.
Well, insurance, the big reason why we have all the cost we have. You know, it's the fucking pyramid scheme between the medical field and the insurance agencies.
I mean, that's a whole, we can have a whole specific topic on it, which we'll probably not agree on anyways. But because if you had insurance, I mean, you have your max out of pocket and all the other complicated stuff. But yes, I mean, I totally agree with you. You got to do what you've got to do to be taken care of. Couple things on that, though. I mean, your idea about selling cars for more money kind of goes back to the point I was saying of people will go to where it can be more economically beneficial to them, whether it's taxes or that. I do get your point of what you're saying of when it's not free, as in they have money by taxes, and we're the same way. And this is where my libertarian side agrees with you on there is who knows how much more benefit our country would have if we didn't have the bills, the expenses that we do for certain things. I'll push back a little because he knows I'm going to. I mean, it's picking on Argentina and money we send to Ukraine and Israel for wars. Yeah, I mean, you could disagree or agree with that. But just like SNAP, it is a small, consequential position of our budget as a country. Our big three is still always the same big three. It's about 68%, 65%, something like that of the pie goes towards national defense, which is a giant chunk, which is almost, I think, $1 trillion now. You've got Medicare, Medicaid, which is another big third chunk, and Social Security. So that is a 65% chunk of our giant budget of when we're paying taxes of all the types going to the feds goes to those things. And 3 separate things to address that they're going to figure out. But the other stuff, so some people do want to pick on SNAP. Some people do want to pick on, we're funding wars. I don't like war. Don't like that country's war. Or they don't like, sending money to over here or who knows what. But those are all, like I've said before, when people argue about the budgets of our country, it always comes down to, like, if you're looking at a household budget and you're going, hey, you're broke and in debt. What are you doing with your Netflix account? And you're like, it's $15, man. The real issue is that Mercedes I bought, the second home I bought, and all those big expense items. That's where, you look at a budget. Yeah, we should clean up a lot of it, but we're never going to get anywhere until those big chunks get addressed.
Right. Real quick before we move on, just to end, I want to say some stuff on the SNAP stuff, and then let's move on. I want to skip over the free speech stuff, and let's get into Kansas City Stadium relocations. But before we start that, I had a conversation with the listener. He's been listening even back in the P3 days when I used to have that podcast. Close friend of mine. I don't think he'll mind if I read this off, but we have discussions every day on things that are going on. And he messaged me, and he said he's been having a hard time finding common ground on the issue with the SNAP and hold on, let me go back. He says he keeps seeing people saying it only costs taxpayers $36 a year to fund SNAP, which is what you just brought up. That's what kind of triggered me right now to look back at this. And he's like, but nobody can provide how they came to that answer. And I was just replying that, I'd like to show me the proof, and then we can talk, blah, blah, blah. And then he's been saying he's been having a hard time finding common ground on this discussion with this topic. Most people only care about it being taken away from the truly destitute. That seems to be their highest priority, even if it impacts inflation on goods due to the insane number of people that are receiving the benefits. And then he said the best estimate he could come up with after researching on the internet is that all the welfare costs each taxpayer about $1,800 a year to fund $266 billion. That's based on the total number of reported federal tax filings, 154 million, which sounds absurd if less than 50% of the countries are filing taxes, which means something like 60 million citizens are retired, 70 plus million are kids, probably like 20, 30 million are unemployed, homemakers, college students, et cetera, et cetera. At least 11 plus million illegals. All social programs make up 50 to 52% of the federal budget every year, $3.3 trillion. And that, I mean, although we don't want to see people starve, right? We're also getting possibly misinformation. I'm not saying your $36 incorrect. This is what he's saying. He's rebuttaling, saying that it's $1,800 to what he's finding. I kind of wish, which there probably is, through the very messy government web pages that are difficult to navigate, an answer out there, or maybe not. I don't think we want to see people starve. I don't think anybody does. I myself included.
You know, you have people who dedicate their whole lives to all this stuff, right? Economists. You have people that are on top of all these numbers.
But those are varying depending on which economist you're discussing.
So, well, the numbers are there. Well, that's true because depending on what kind of media you're listening to, right? But they agree that $36 if you make about $60,000 a year. That's what's
my only thing is that like, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong because I haven't personally looked. Yeah. I don't know what source you got that from. I don't know what source he got that from. Right. My thing is whatever it comes down to, ultimately, this is just me weighing my opinion and then we can go to the next topic, is that the SNAP program, to me, kind of harp on a little bit what you said, keeps people limited, okay? You have to stay in this category in order to get these benefits. You know what I mean? So when you're stuck there, how are you ever supposed to get out?
I don't think people want to be stuck there, right? They don't want to.
Well, I think there are some people that do, but
we have a system where, like I said, 70% of people have full-time jobs. The other 30% are people that are on Social Security or disability. 96% of the people on SNAP are U.S. citizens. 4% are residents of America, and about 0.4% they have it for fraud. So yeah.
But if you take these things away,
right,
it's going to be ugly at the beginning, just like Prohibition was, just like, I don't know, name something else. It's ugly once it starts, but then it tends to balance out. So people see like, hey, I can't afford anything. I'm no longer going to that full-time job that you said. I don't know how many percentage of people you said had a full-time job. They're not going to go there anymore because they're either going to have to, A, grow the shit out in their backyard or have community gardens or go rob somebody for it. And so that ultimately will make these corporations go, well, man, we just lost 50% of our workforce. We have to pay more. So in my mind, it would balance out. That's just my opinion. I just wanted to weigh it in. I think social welfare programs are not good. I think they limit people.
I think we need to look at why they're trying to cut SNAP in the first place. I mean, the big beautiful bill was a $4 trillion tax cut for the wealthy over the next 10 years.
It was also a $5.5 trillion added to the national debt. Yeah, I agree with you. It's an ugly bill in my mind. But there can be two truths, right? I mean, we can discuss the social welfare programs, and if the whole point is to help people. So how are we helping if it's increasing numbers of participants on it? You know what I mean? And we can talk about a lot of things. Inflation. You discussed Trump. What'd you say? 11% of the dollar.
Oh, about 10% of the dollar lost its value. Almost 11%.
Right, and that's been a trajectory that's been going down since what? I mean. We could probably go back on numerous presidents that have been causing due to the continuously printing of money without the backing to it.
Well, we had a system and with the Nixon administration where we couldn't lose
when they went to fiat currency with the Nixon administration.
When we backed the dollar with the oil, with the Saudis, when we made the deal that the dollar would be backed with Saudi oil, we couldn't lose. The world needed oil and they needed to trade it in dollars. We couldn't lose. We could do whatever the hell we wanted in Congress and the dollar would stay strong no matter what, right? So we built a system that over the years kept getting worse and worse, more and more and more corrupt. To the point where the world is now doing away with oil, right? They're leaving us behind. They're having electric cars, electric everything, and so what happens when you have that system? We continue to lose value of our dollar, and it could potentially completely collapse, and we'd all be screwed. So we can't continue to have corrupt officials and have a thriving country. We cannot do that.
Yeah. I see that. I've never heard of the oil stuff, so I can't debate you on that. I mean, I've always known our currency's backed by gold. Supposedly, we've never been able to audit Fort
until
Knox.
the Nixon administration.
I thought Nixon went to fiat currency.
No, Nixon went to oil. Yeah. Nixon went to oil. It was gold.
I am not an expert on
No, that's
that
fine.
stuff by any stretch.
That may just be a debate. Let's just not even get
Yeah,
into that.
he took us off the gold standard.
Definitely, and I'm sure you will let me know.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yes, no, because I do know once we went to the fiat currency, it was no longer backed by gold. That is what I do know. Maybe that is true. I don't know. You guys both good? Go to the next topic. I'd like to discuss.
I just want to take a little break and use it.
Oh, yeah. Go
I've been drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah. We are moving on to the Kansas City Stadium relocation, public funding versus community priorities. So, you want to take that one?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead and jump on this. I'm kind of excited to talk about this. This is kind of what got me down this path, even how I met him. Yeah. And just kind of popped interest on you. And, very been going on, but it feels like forever now they've been talking about this. So I think we can all agree that we could love to get to an end point in this. When it comes to, benefiting the city, benefiting, priorities, if there was an option for a federal ban on subsidies, I'd be for it. But there's not. It is part of what we have to deal with. It's part of what attracts teams to other areas, businesses to other areas. Sometimes it got put as it's just about the teams. I heard you on your talk. I mean, subsidies go to businesses all over to attract, because cities are competing to attract commodities like teams. And we've had the Royals here forever. We've had the Chiefs here what feels like forever, but that's not necessarily true. I mean, the movement of teams is frequent. I understand and I get on the surface how it seems silly. I'm not going to even acknowledge that it seems automatically off the cuff, low priority. I'm not going to come up here and say that, by having a team, it's going to change the world and our economy is going to be flourished and we're all driving Bentleys because of it. And I'm not going to also say that, we're doomed if we do have it. And it's kind of, to me, more as a net positive, but I'll go into some details of where I came from on this whole subject, where I'm at now, what's been going on now versus then. And I got some questions I'm very curious from your point of view on. Because, when it comes to it's a game. It is, but it's big business. That's what it really is. And that's why it gets so much attention. But it does a lot of things for our city, our people, and just our entertainment. The reason why I can say it can be kind of frivolous is because, like I said, it's a game that we will watch. It's fun. It's not life and death. But, like at the beginning of every fall, me and my buddy used to say, all right, let's let our emotions be decided by a bunch of 20-year-olds that we don't know and don't care about us. But it's true, is we do care. And that's just from a fan's point of view. But from a bigger picture, our city's point of view, the importance of it, here's where it came from and here's where I'm at now. Where it started, I just kind of assumed, I didn't get in the weeds of it. I was just like, I'm a fan, love to go to games, think it's good for our city. And when they talked about maybe going downtown, I'm like, that sounds cool. Like, just never pictured our city being one of those cities that has a downtown, like, cool factor like that. So that's how it started. And I first saw it was between North Kansas City and downtown Kansas City, fighting it over. And when they picked Kansas City, I'm like, we won. And I thought it was a nominal vote. I heard a little piece that said, no, there's a vote in April, but it sounded very nominal, like, he's got to go through the procedure, but it's done deal. As I started paying attention to it, because I was like, where's it going to go? Because the first thing that made me go, perked my ears way up, was it was East Village versus North Kansas City. And then all of a sudden, it's Crossroads. And I'm like, holy cow, this sounds awesome. Because originally I was like, where could it go? I'm looking at green space on maps. And I go, it's going to go right here. It's at 12th and Cherry. That's where I was calling it, because there's a bunch of green space. This is before East Village was announced. And they announced it. I'm like, yeah, that made sense. But then when it switched to Crossroads, I'm like, done deal. This is amazing. And then I started looking at Twitter and some other things and go, wait a minute. There's an opposition here. And then I'm looking at it going, I don't know what's going to pass. Like, it looked like there is a strong opposition here. So I'm in the comment sections. I'm digging in. And a common thing I keep seeing is, these are bad deals. Cities get screwed. Studies say. And I kept seeing study stay. And finally I was like, I'm going to go read these stupid studies. So it took a long while to find a study. There's hundreds of them allegedly out there. I couldn't even find one. I finally found two. I found a professor in Boulder, University of Colorado. He thought I was on his side, I guess. He sent it to me. And I'm reading through these. And I'm like, I had a business degree, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm common sense. I'm reading this going, this is bullshit. I mean, that's all I can say. It's like there is a lot of cherry picking going on. There's a lot of, mixed stuff on here. I go, all I'm concerned about is our city and what the deal is. And I go, yeah, there's obviously other cities that have done this, and I don't think they did it well. I think that Miami did a piss poor job. They spent way too much, put a wrong area. And I'm like, if you're going to do a crossroads, this will work here. Now, when I looked at the opposition of it, I was like, okay, what are the drawbacks? And you see, things I did learn. I was like, oh, it's a regressive tax because it's a sales tax across the city. Well, I'm looking at it like the 3/8 sales tax. Hey, it ain't much. You go buy something. It's a small percentage on what you're spending. And the deal was if you paid that amount, the team stay. That's basically what it came down to. And it'd be cool because they're going to be downtown. That's in my head. And I get the argument. It's marketing. It's politics. It's going to raise your taxes. No, it's not. It's the same price. I mean, I looked at it like we've been paying this 3/8 cents. Nobody's, been going broke over it for 20 years because of it. Nobody's been saying, I can't wait till that tax is done. So I'm like, this is a no-brainer. And then you go into, okay, there was businesses being affected. So I looked into that. I kind of disagree with what they did. I think if it was the businesses, I think they would have been smart to work with the Royals to be like, hey, you've helped me out. I'll be on your side. And I'm not blaming them. I get why they did. But then on the other side, it was the Royals should have worked out. I will not defend their campaign. It was the worst campaign in history, maybe. Literally terrible. So I'm like, okay, but hopefully it still passes. We'll see. Because the gamble was, one of the guys on 610 Radio Sports, he said, look, I don't like the bill, the vote for what it is, but the deal is we pass it, they stay. We don't, they go, potentially. It's not worth the gamble to him. And I watched some of the debates. Patrick Toohey was on there, who sat in these chairs, and he was on the debate stage. And one of the questions I said to him was, hey, Patrick, because he said, which I've heard echoed by others, oh, it's a meaningless threat to leave. And then I saw John Oliver, he has the show on HBO. He did a whole segment in 2017, and he goes, well, the St. Louis Rams, the San Diego Chargers, the Oakland A's, the Oakland Raiders, they've used these as threats to leave. And that was 2017. They all left. These aren't meaningless threats. Those teams literally left. Our city is the 35th largest market. So if it came to redo teams, we're probably not getting one. Now, what are the benefits that we get by doing it and where it's at now? So the vote got crushed and, great. I will say when it got voted down, I've noticed this thing. Everyone that voted down had a specific reason and they were not the same. But everyone seems to claim that was the reason why. So I have a lot of people that say, we don't want downtown baseball. That proved it. The vote said so. No, that's not what the vote said, because some people just don't like the regressive tax. Or no, that proves that traffic is bad. We need to keep the K. No, that's not what that guy voted for. So collectively, a shitty campaign mixed with a lot of different reasons is why, in my opinion, it went down. The numbers show it. Now, where it's at now, this is where it kind of drives me a little nuts of why some people, some people will never be for it, but if they changed what they did now, I think it would pass. So they moved locations, number one. The current locations on the board none of them are to be a regressive tax. They are to be a user fee. I saw a lot of people say, hey, if you like the Royals, you pay for it. Well, that's what we're doing. I mean, you go buy a ticket to the game, you are the one that's being taxed, not the general public. It's only when you're in that district area. Two, it's the other big thing I was going to say is it's economically beneficial. I know these studies say they're not, and here's where I'm going to kind of use my proof of how it is. It's the businesses around it benefit, and the reason why I say that is because a big factor in what they want, and they've been pretty vocal about it, was they want a baseball village, bars, restaurants, hotels. If they wanted that deal downtown, which they've said, they don't want to have a vote. They want to have the money and have the village. They'd be in Washington Square Park right now. Mayor Q has said, I will put you in there. We don't need a vote, and you'll be there. They're not going because they can't fit a baseball village. It's my opinion, but it seems to be backed by a lot of people in the know. There is not enough room to do this full village that they could do in Kansas or in North Kansas City. If they did go there, those businesses would have that benefit. The other thing why I think it proves a little bit that it's not an economic disaster is because if the first vote, let's take that away, that happened. Kansas stepped in to make an offer, which is part of the moving. Now, if Mayor Q, he's a very savvy politician. I mean, no matter what, you can dislike him, you can hate him, you can love him. You can say you can't argue he's not a savvy politician. And being a savvy politician, if this is detrimental to the budget, crime's bad, all these bad things are allegedly true, he could come out and say, guys, I did you all a solid. Kansas is going to pay all this. They're going to deal with the crime, the traffic, the pollution, all that bad stuff. Where do you think these people are going to stay when they come to town? They're still staying in Kansas City, downtown. When the parade happens, it's still out here. I did you all the biggest favor because I see how it's crushing our budget. But he's not doing that. He's trying to keep it here. And that, to me, can prove that it is a benefit. Besides that, the social aspect is also there. I kind of wrap up on that is I think we do need it as a city because it's one thing that brings us together. All people, whether you're all races, ages, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, everything you name, we're all on the same page with this. And so that's why I think it'd be a universal factor. But I'm definitely more interested in hearing what you have to say on this.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what's not being told. So everybody thinks that the first $1 billion is going to go towards the stadium. That is not the case at all. At all. First and foremost, the first $1 billion, $600 to $700 million is going to go towards interest payments alone over the next 30 to 40 years. Interest payments alone on the people that live in Kansas City. That means your property taxes are going to go up. That means your taxes are going to go up. So why do I say that? Whenever a state or a city says, we're going to do a bond, we're going to do a city bond, to cover the cost for the stadium, for example. Basically, what that means is that we're going to take out a loan with the promise that our taxpayers are going to pay it back. Stadiums typically take anywhere from 30 to 40 years to pay back. That means that the interest on that alone is about $700 billion that we're responsible for. $700 billion. That means that the stadium is going to be around 300, 350, which makes sense because the Kasey current stadium, for example, the women's soccer team, who's not as big of a sport, it's just a women's soccer team, right? Their stadium was 11,500 seats. The first estimate was $70 million was going to be to build that stadium. Well, it ended up costing about $117 million, and it's going up more now because they're also going to do the same thing as the Royals, do a surrounding area type thing. So that means they're spending about $140 million in total or so for the Kasey Current, right, the women's soccer team. So for 28,000 seats, what the Royals are asking for, which is 3 times, so it's 3 times bigger, it makes sense that it'll be about $350 million, right? That's the first off. Second off, we're giving the Royals complete control of the surrounding area, meaning they're going to be either. Let's see here. They're going to be either directly in control or they're going to have ownership of all these bars and surrounding area. So meaning the taxpayers are not going to see shit. That's all going to go towards the Royals, the organization. And so this does not benefit the people of Kansas City in any shape or form. When you're paying $700 billion in just interest alone, that's just ridiculous and out of control because no team is going to build a stadium for $1 billion. That's not a thing, right? And so I think people need to understand how much we're paying in interest, how much the people of Kansas City just got screwed. I'm the only one that has stayed alone. That has fought back against not only the Royals but a lot of the corporations that are taking advantage of our system, right? Because our politicians are completely corrupt. Our advocacy groups are now completely silent. They've said nothing, right? The Royals were supposed to promise money to go towards homelessness, but now the big thing for the Royals is that they're going to offer $5 million to advocacy groups, and guess what? Every single advocacy group is all of a sudden silent. There's not a peep from any of the groups. And I remember when I stood, with Casey Tenants and got interviewed with the Kansas City Star and talked about this. And we celebrated how we defeated the Royals, right? And stuff like that. But all of a sudden, they're completely silent. This is going to hurt the tenants of Kansas City like never before, because when property taxes skyrocket, whenever we're paying that much in interest alone, it's going to devastate the people of Kansas City. Everyone is going to feel this, and so this is a huge mistake in my opinion.
Okay.
All right, hold on one sec. Could you? Yeah, just make sure you're on that mic real quick.
It's getting a little underneath here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in and counter a few things on here.
Dom, is that stand in his face? Good. All right.
So I understand the interest part. I will challenge that 100%. It's not 700 billion over that time. That number is not correct.
We all have access to AI.
We can check it. It's not 700 billion. But yeah, we'd love to check to see what.
Can we check that on AI?
Because that's
what did you want to?
So the interest rates on the Royal Stadium for over the next 40 years.
Yeah,
He'll look that up. You guys keep talking.
And then, because if that was true, let's just go on that. That's almost $1 trillion. If we had $1 trillion over 30 years, that's where it comes back to. I don't care how corrupt Mayor Q is. A, you couldn't hide that. B, I don't think you get anybody even on board on that.
Start sending that to our debt.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, that's insane.
Except we have.
But regardless, I don't want to get in the weeds on that part.
Yeah.
I'm kind of actually curious on a few different things. A, just to clarify, when you say they're corrupt, what do you specifically mean by that?
First and foremost, we still owe $200 million on the current stadiums, the current Truman Sports Complex. So $200 million out of the next $1 billion is going to go towards that alone. And that doesn't even, I don't think that includes demolition of the old Royal Stadium either. So when I say that our local legislators are corrupt, they're corrupt cowards, because they should be working for you, the American people, not some corporation that's going to do them favors and possibly give them executive jobs if they're voted out of office because they voted against the interests of the people of Jackson County. Well, the people were very clear. We didn't want to pay for this stadium, right? And so when you go against the people, more than likely you're going to be out of office, and I think the voters are going to reflect that.
Well, here's one pushback on several things on here. One, like I said when I first talked on there, some voters said they didn't want to pay for it. That was not a plurality of that vote. It was some of the voters. Some of the voters were very vocal.
67%, I believe. 60.
No, the vote no was. I'm saying the reasoning for it was not. There was plenty of people that said, I don't care about it being paid for. That was not their issue. Some people's issues were very specifically, save the K. I don't want to change. Some people were very specific of not wanting to have it on their business. There was one guy in downtown Kansas City who has a business. He literally said it on the news. He goes, yeah, I want downtown baseball, just not on my specific block. Truly, not in my backyard situation. Regarding, though, a couple of things you mentioned about the tax, that was the old way that they were passing it or going to do it. It is now in the state's hands. So one of the arguments of the no voters was, why is the city having to hold the whole back of this and not the state? Well, the state did step in. The state of Missouri got in there, and now it is part of where it's going to come from. And it's still also done in a user tax.
That's because the local legislators, 8-1, I believe, or 7-2, I think ultimately, or something like that. And I could be wrong in the numbers, but yeah, I think it's 7-2 voted to get the stadium, right? So then it went to the state, and then the state voted to go ahead and give this money to the Royals.
But how the money's done, though, you're right. It is backed by bond. That's why it's a better or stronger offer than what Kansas is offering. But on that offer, it's from a district area. So for those that are paying for it, it's not being paid for by just the entire Jackson County. It is going to be a district that is surrounded by the stadium. So those that are benefiting of the stadium are the ones who are paying for it. You go to a game, you live around it, you have a restaurant around it. Two, kind of my point, you were talking about who owns it. Yes, they do want to own the stuff surrounding it. But that's why, I'm saying we'll see what happens. If they go to Washington Square Park, which is the only location right now that's potentially for Jackson County, there is no room to do this. So while they may have some room and they'll put in some restaurants, they can't control the other areas because there already is thriving businesses and vacant space in those areas right now that they would fill. So that is one spot where very specifically, like when the whole thing about this, I'm not going to defend everything about everything, but what I will defend is our city and that specific location, because it does kind of vet out. If they don't choose that location, two things will happen. One, ain't our problem, because it's either going to be Kansas's problem or it's going to be North Kansas City's problem, not Jackson County. It doesn't affect our taxes, doesn't affect any of that. So that's one big thing. Two, the backing of it being by the state of Missouri. Yes, if they don't sell enough, like, so here, for example, if the Royal Stadium cost $50 million, for example, like just something like that, or Mahomes might be like, hey, I got you, I'm going to just peel it off. Got it. It would be a good deal. Even the guy I was emailing with, the guy that made the book Field of Schemes, that's his whole thing. I messaged him some of my questions. He was kind enough to respond back. And his response was basically, I didn't really say every deal is bad, but most are bad. So it depends is his answer. It depends on the deal. The backing, so like let's say we said, no, Sherman wants to have a $10 billion stadium. That's insane. Or $20 billion stadium. Well, we're not going to sell enough tickets, like the user fee tax that will be on there. We'll never pay for that. So then the state of Missouri is what's going to have to be figuring it out. It's not going to be Jackson County. It's not going to be our city. It's going to be the state of the Missouri. It's backing it. But the idea is if they sell enough revenue in that district, that's what inherently pays for it. So also you mentioned about the money going towards the city. This is one of my big issues I had when they voted it down. $200 million was in that very first vote. These are two separate deals, so you got to keep in mind. So when they put a deal on, and it was either pass this, and we're on board with all on board. Once it went down, all parts of the deal went away. In that deal had a $200 million city benefits. So there was money baked in there to go from those taxes that were going to be generated to go right back to like busing, to go back to the city. It was in there. Now, the argument was...
all of a sudden it's not. Yeah.
Well, because it's not part of the deal anymore. We voted it down. We voted all the parts down. And
because it didn't benefit the state, it didn't benefit the city.
It did benefit the city.
Yeah.
It did. But it got voted down. That's regardless. It got voted down. But when they did that, the argument was, oh, we're going to give $1 billion to the team, but only $200 million to the people. And I'm sitting there going, well, are you going to collectively get a sales tax passed that's going to go fund all these things? And it still hasn't passed. They've been having to find from the budget to fix busing, fix this, when they could have had $200 million baked into that sales tax, that 3/8 sales tax that was originally there, was baked in to have $200 million go back to the people. Now it's off the table. We're not talking 3/8 sales tax anymore. It's from the state. The state level of it is backing it in this user district. So some of those things don't longer matter. The property tax side of things, and just to clarify your point, are you saying property tax will go up because they can no longer cover the cost?
They can no longer cover the cost, so it has to come from somewhere.
Are you saying they're going to raise the percent?
So they're going to raise everyone's taxes. Kansas City tenants are going to suffer. Rent's going to go up. Property taxes are going to go up.
Why is rent going to go up?
When property taxes go up, landlords have to charge more for the cost to cover the difference, right? So everything is going to trickle down. Everything is going to
verify because
we're going to create more homelessness, and it's going to be even worse off than we were.
But just to clarify, so I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
It's going basically we're going to have a bill due And you're saying because we can't pay the bill, they're going to go, where are we going to get the money for it?
They're going to take it from police. They're going to take it from schools. They're going to take it from other things. So they're going to say, oh, we got to raise the taxes for the schools. But was it really because of that? Or was it because you just got a brand new shiny stadium so that a bunch of grown men in tights could play a kid's game? I mean, that's just the reality.
Well, that's not the reality. The reality of it is they're $1 billion business that brings in revenue all over the place. It's the number one thing that we basically watch in our town. I mean, like I said, I'm not defending the frivolousness of it, but when you watch the local news, first thing they're showing before they get to who killed who and all the other crap is, hey, let's talk about the game. Every time. It's an important factor, and it is big business for, half our town. I mean,
the Royals came out and said they're gonna put up about 540 million.
No, they said $1 billion.
Something of their money.
Yes, $1 billion of their money.
So okay, let's say they put up $1 billion, even better. Okay, so if they're gonna put up that kind of money, you're telling me that the girls could build a state-of-the-art stadium, soccer stadium for the KC Current with 11,500 seats, but the Royals can't build for 120 million. Let's say it's approximately right now because they don't know the final total until they finish the surrounding area, and they think it's going to be about 43 million is what they said. Now, you're telling me that the Royals can't build a stadium with 30,000 seats, which is triple the size, for $1 billion?
Yeah, they're vastly different. If you look at the structure of the Current and what they're talking about, these are vastly different teams. Now, is that right or wrong? Not for me to say. Because if you look at what's competitive in the major league market, we're not talking about that market where those teams play in, which, it's the only stadium that have that, so there's nothing to compare with for a women's-only team. I think it's great that they have it, but the quality and the size of the stadium are vastly different.
It's 3 times the size.
Yes.
So
and if you, look at,
you would think it's 3 times the price, which is
and compare it to
$350,
other stadiums
$400
being
million.
built, and look back. If you're talking specifically on the Royals, to be picking on them, because I don't care about the other cities. I care about our city. You look at around the country, teams. I had a friend of mine in Denver goes, the Broncos are trying to get a new stadium. I go, you literally just got a new stadium 20 years ago. Like, you're not even talking about Mile High. You're talking about a stadium 20 years ago. We have been very judicious when it comes to spending money on something frivolous. Always agree with that. But the fact is, we have had a stadium since the 70s. Every stadium built in their era has been torn down. There's not a stadium standing that was built in that era that still stands, of that cement 1970s era stadium. We should have torn it down probably in 2005. What we did then instead was this major renovation that went for 25 years. So we're right now living on a renovation that was done in 2005 that's supposed to go to 2031, while other cities are getting whole new stadiums. Now, to keep the team here, once again, right or wrong? Probably wrong, but they have other choices. They don't have to be here.
If the team wanted to move, and they supposedly got other offers, which they didn't.
They do. It's like right now, it's on the table in
There
Kansas.
was no official offer.
There is an official offer in Kansas
What's
right
the
now.
offer
On the
Kansas
Kansas side,
Yes,
for the Chiefs.
That is for the Royals. The Royals right now are looking at 119th and Null. They sent the surveys out just yesterday to the season ticket holders. Hey, we're narrowed it down to 3 spots. It's in Kansas. The Star Bonds has passed. The state is saying we want both
If the
teams.
people on the Kansas side want to pay for it, let them.
They are.
More
And
power to them.
That's my point about why Mayor Q is sitting here going, explain to me then, and you may be right, but explain to me why all those facts are true. Kansas has a firm offer on the table. Mm-hmm. They could go there. Q could let them go there and not have to deal with all this stuff and get all the benefit.
But they've had years to get an offer from another city. They were hoping to get an offer from Tennessee or something like that. No,
that's a myth. That is a myth. They were not. To be fair on this subject, because I was on the. I probably went too far under the scare tactic of they're going to go to Nashville. They're going to go to there. Sherman never once said anything about leaving.
That's because they never got an offer. That tells you everything about the deal that they want.
Where they do have an offer is in Kansas. They absolutely have an offer on the table. In the border war that the border truce that went in like 2017, where we're not going to try to poach businesses, that came off the table.
We'd be lucky if they're suckers and they pay for it. Honestly,
why did that come off the table?
What?
The 2017 border war deal.
Well, because when Kansas, when the vote went down, within a month, Kansas tried to act like, hey, I'm doing you all a solid because we don't want to leave the region. So we're going to put an offer on the table to keep them here. And because I think, and I'm just speculating, Frank White was a lot of this behind this. His negotiating tactic was, I'm calling your bluff, like with you. Like, I don't think you're leaving. I'm calling your bluff. Go. And then when Kansas came out and, hey, here's a legit offer, that's when they go, crap. We either got to go let them go, or you're going to counter.
Say a little shocker here.
Yeah.
And what I think it's going to happen, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to leave to the Kansas side, which is a great thing for Jackson County. There is no way that we're going to be able to afford another $2 billion for another stadium in Kansas City. Well, that's not a thing.
Here's what I'm
so they are going to go to the Kansas side. I hate to break people's hearts, but it's a business. And they're going to leave because the people of Kansas City somehow think they could pay for that.
Well, here's where
more power to them.
Here's a couple of places where long term it's going to be incorrect, I think. Mm-hmm. Where the team, not just the economic benefits of the surrounding areas, there is a tax that goes in, a 1% user tax that goes straight from the Royals' huge salaries, the Chiefs' huge salaries, and the teams. When they come play here, they pay it too. So that goes into part of our budget. That's not an insignificant amount of money. When that goes, you lose all of that money as well. So that's a portion of what they're fighting to keep.
We're not losing much when we're paying $700 billion.
It's not $700 billion.
Interest.
It's not $700 billion.
Hold on, we got that pulled up right now.
Okay.
But I can only find the 40-year cost of a downtown stadium to be between $4.4 billion and $4.6.
Yeah. And there's not $700 billion.
I mean, we can look it up. We can try to search it.
If it was $700 billion, I'd agree
Google
with you.
how much taxes are we going to?
That's what we put. Yeah, that's what. Hold on, scroll up, Dom. Interest rates. Yeah, interest rates on Royal Stadium the next 40 years downtown. That's
as
what
well as
is that AI or just
it's just AI
internet?
overview. Yeah.
No, go to deeper dive AI down below, right there. Yep. So.
Star Bonds, the state of Kansas is that's Kansas. I don't know. Go back down, try to scroll down, see what you can see.
The other thing, when it comes to the total cost of the stadium,
pondering costs.
When you're Googling, look up, how much stadiums cost, just because of inflation and everything else. 25 years ago, you could get a new stadium built, $150 million, $50 million. Mm-hmm. What do you think the cost is going to be in 20 years? So it's going to seem like minimal change, but what won't change is, look what Mahomes' contract was, for example. Almost, $500 million or whatever it was. Things also keep going up. So that 1% fee of taxes will also continue to rise. Sales tax will continue to rise because, in 20 years, I'm pretty sure we're going to be, just because of inflation, it sounds insane. Mm-hmm. The ticket price is going to be significantly more in 20 years. Our incomes hopefully will be matched.
So what happens when that happens and people can't afford to go to the games?
No, they will, because your incomes are going. It's part of, hopefully we balance. We talked earlier about the income inequality.
But that's what we're seeing is the gap.
I know, but what I'm saying is with inflation going up, the average, I'm agreeing with you right now, the average inequality is slightly down, but it's not significantly. If you look at the average income today versus like 2005, it's significantly up. It's slightly behind.
It's up, but so is inflation.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
I'm going to say they didn't keep fully up, but it's not like there is always a breaking point. I don't think it's there. Hopefully, some of these ideas that we've talked, we'll find the right ones, and it will flip and get us slightly ahead. But regardless, either like we talked about the strawberries, if they get to a point where we can't afford it, it's going to have to drop.
So it says approximately $700 million of the potential $1 billion in sales tax money from a previous proposal would have gone to interest on bonds and paying off existing debt, leaving only about $300 million of the actual stadium construction costs. That's from beaconnews.org.
From the first billion, yep.
Yeah, here, Beacon News. You can pull that up.
$700 million. I'm not talking about.
What'd you type in right there? I'll have him pull it up.
Yeah, no, 700 billion or 700 million. Sorry,
okay,
700 million.
That's a vast difference in over 35 years.
700 million.
That's probably more right.
Sorry.
You're talking. I think that's probably the high end, but yeah, you're talking about.
But does that make sense for the people of Kansas City?
Yes, absolutely makes sense.
Well,
when you look at what do you think the budget of Kansas City is?
Well, we had a surplus in Missouri of $8 billion. Now we're projected in 2025 to go down $1.9 billion, a debt of $1.9 billion. By 2027, we're expected to go down to a deficit of $1 billion. So we'll be in the negative for $1 billion. So
well, they're going to have to adjust some things. But
add the Royals to this.
We're talking big numbers on there, and 700 million. That's why I was arguing a little bit. Is 700 billion is way off at 700 million.
Yeah.
And over 30 years.
I don't know if I said billion. Sorry.
No,
but
that's
it
why
was million.
like,
it was million.
No, because it does change a little bit of the reference.
But it doesn't make sense. $700 million is a lot of money.
It is.
So if the Royals are willing to put up 500 million or even or a billion,
they're put up $1 billion.
Then why not build your own stadium with zero interest for the people of Kansas City?
Well, here's why. I mean,
because Kansas City would love to put money around the surrounding area because they would profit from those companies, but they're not. But the Royals are profiting from those because they're going to give the Royals those ownership of the surrounding area with the Royals as well.
Well, like I said,
people of Kansas City are getting bent over and screwed.
Not true, because here's
in every single way.
Like I said, if they go to Washington Square Park,
yeah.
There's not any area for. That's why I don't think they're going to go there. So you'll be relieved. I think it's going to go North Kansas City or to.
I got a fefeeling I know where they're going. I'm keeping it to myself, but I think people are going to be shocked.
Well, the Chiefs,
and I also think. I know.
Which stadium are you talking about?
The Royals.
Well,
the Chiefs, I said already. I project they're going to go to the Kansas City side.
And I'm not saying they can't change.
Yeah. Wasn't it North Kansas City being one of them?
North Kansas City, where kind of near Chicken and Pickle is one of them, which keep in mind. So to go there,
I don't think they'll go to North Kansas City.
There's multiple reasons why I don't think they will either. But
traffic and being one of them.
It's on the table because the reason why I think they would
is
there's space there.
We wouldn't have to pay for it.
But if they go to Washington Square Park, there's no space to go do what you're talking about. Like literally, look in the map. There's no place they could take ownership of in that area.
Washington Square Park, and correct me, is that next to Union Station, basically? Okay, yeah.
So
I don't like that area either. I don't think they're going to go there either.
Well, that's the only location, unless they pull something.
There's another location they haven't made public, and I think that's where they're going to go. And it benefits me greatly, trust me. And so for me to be speaking up against it,
I appreciate that, but it's
and I stand to benefit a lot of money if that happens. And I'm pretty sure this is where they're going to go. And I'm the biggest advocate, and I'm the only one that has stayed firm on saying that this is just a horrible idea for the people of Kansas City.
Can I ask a question real quick before you two? Why do you think it's better for Jackson County residents or Kansas City, in that area? Why is it better for them not to have that? You said that earlier. I just kind of want to hear your side.
Every single study that has ever been done has always proven that there's no economic impact from stadiums in the city. Every single stadium. This is from universities. This is from economists. This is from everybody, right? And so. We have to pay attention to these studies. We can't say, oh, I don't believe that study because they wouldn't show me how they went about doing that study. These are some of the smartest people. These are universities. We have to pay attention to the people who dedicate their lives to this. And
I'm totally going to push back on
that. You did earlier.
On the studies part.
Yeah, we discussed the studies part. You said you've been through them. You've read a lot through them. They're flawed.
Well, it's not that the way they did this.
Most people don't read them.
They have on there though. It's not correct.
Right, and we've had that discussion. I'm not trying to cut you off or anything. In our episode, which anybody can go refer back to and listen to, I understand your side where you said these studies are conflicting, and a lot of the times these people will preach them without reading them. So I get that. I just want to hear from your side. I'm trying to get it down to why you think it's beneficial for them not to, on Leo's side, for the residents of Kansas City, but your side as well, and why you think it's beneficial for this area.
Well, one, I think it's beneficial for the area because it is going to, the specific location of where it goes matters. I think you can, like any business, you can do it wrong. So I'm not saying because it's a team, it's the Royals, they can do no wrong. You can pick the wrong place. Like that's why I'm hopefully, glass half full with it. They're really taking their time to do the right thing and find the right answer and not go the wrong place. Like you go to some other cities. I've been to about multiple cities now for baseball, football, to check out their city and how they did it. Some are great, some are crap. Like I went to St. Louis. I hate how they do it there. They have a downtown stadium. I think it's a terrible location. It does not give the benefit. There's places, if we went East Village, I think it would have been terrible. In our city, it's, to me, for the opposite reasons, it's fragile. Is our downtown is fragile. And why that I mean is in 2003, our town was a ghost town. I mean, anybody in here that was here in 2003, prior to Power and Light, you would never say downtown Kansas City. It didn't exist. You went downtown for one reason in October going to the west side to go to the haunted houses and got the hell out of here because the rest of it was scary. Power and Light went in, and that was the first time that city even mattered. Our city even mattered downtown. That wasn't the Plaza or Westport. Then we've been growing since then. But from Union Station to there, River Market, it is a fragile deal where it can go to crap again. There's no doubt that it could also turn around and crime go up, homelessness goes up, all these negative things go up because business goes to shit. You get an anchor in there like that, put it right in a spot where if you put it at Washington Square Park, that's why it's the best thing. You were partially right. If it went to the Crossroads location that was voted down, businesses would have been affected. They would have put their own shit in. It would have competed against Power and Light. It could have done a lot of these negative things that could have happened. If you go in there, I'm passionate about why it goes there is it will actually benefit those businesses around us. Mm-hmm. Like the ones that are there are going to go, I've got 30,000 fans available now to sell stuff to that we did not have. And now some businesses will go there. Because when I went to Denver, if you get the chance to go, they put a downtown stadium in, and this is how black and white as it got. Family member that grew up there, from there, had business there. Before that stadium went in the early 90s was tragic. He goes, the street was named Hooker Alley or something like that. He goes, wouldn't bring my kids down here. It was dangerous. They put the stadium in, and we went down, and that whole downtown was thriving. Businesses were happening. People were around. It was a center of, commerce and, social attitude. And if we got to have that here in Kansas City, I think that puts us so, far ahead of creating an atmosphere that, I think people that are aged, I don't know, early 30s and younger, maybe 30 and under, have zero appreciation of this town before Power and Light. Like they kind of just assume it's there as it's always been there. We can argue back and forth, was it benefit or not? But prior to that, you couldn't find me a person that would say, yeah, I'm going to gamble on living in downtown. I'm going to gamble on going and opening a business in downtown. Mm-hmm. And now it's our main thing.
So pretty much you believe it's going to bring an economic boom for the city. All right. So we're going to go to the next topic, unfortunately, because we're running out of time. But I was just going to weigh in real quick. Yeah. The only thing I can push back on you on that is that you say these things are going to decrease poverty or homelessness and crime and all this stuff, but yet we still see these things even with Power and Light. And Power and Light's fairly new. We're still seeing a rise in homelessness. We're still seeing a rise in crime. I don't think it's it could be a mixture of Power and Light as well. You bring a hub of bars and clubs and alcohol and all this shit. It's just a recipe for violence and, I'm not saying it happens a lot, but it does happen. Yeah. Also, there's other things that also contribute as well to the homelessness and violence as well. So I don't necessarily think that the stadium's going to fix that.
No. I'm not claiming.
Right.
To be very clear. I'm not claiming it's a panacea that's going to fix everything and, we're going to be like the city.
But you believe it'll help.
I believe it'll. I don't believe it'll help the general city. Yeah. I believe it'll help the whole core of it.
And see
the majority.
And see, I honestly believe, and it's just my take before we go to the next. Yeah. I think it sounds good. I think it may possibly work for the next year, maybe two, as long as we're winning. But what happens when we stop?
Execution matters, how they do down. A lot of those factors matter. But here's where I'll push back real quick and move on. If it's done well, like any business, Colorado and Denver, they have the shittiest team for the last forever. They have no history. They have no winning. They have the worst record of anybody. And they sell way more than we do, even when we are winning. Mm-hmm. And so there is proof that you can do it well.
But are they profitable?
Oh, they're super profitable. Like really? You go out there, it is a carnival. Like that's why the fans.
No, but like behind everything, are they actually making a profit to pay back?
So two things. Not only did in that city did they pay off their stadium debt early, like so they had it at the same time. Like they paid it off.
Who was this?
Denver, Colorado, the Rockies. So they paid off early. They're now getting another loan.
Who are the Rockies? That NBA or what?
Baseball.
Baseball, okay.
And when we go there, probably the only thing that has made people mad in that city, talking to them, is the fans, because they go, the business, the owner, is making more money than putting it on the field because people are going to the games anyways. They're going, our team sucks. You put no players on, but the stadium's packed because they turned it into a fun atmosphere. I mean, we were up there. Nobody even watched the game. They were in the whole social atmosphere, hanging out, and then going to the bars afterwards. I was like, this is cool. Your team sucks.
So you're saying we don't need a stadium to have fun while downtown and revitalize it? Because essentially that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if there was other ways,
if the team
sure.
sucks, then they're not really there to see the team. They're there because the downtown was
It's a
revitalized.
But it's a catalyst to get you to go there.
Yeah, but we can revitalize our city without a Royal Stadium.
So what you're saying is they work kind of in conjoint with one another.
I think so.
Okay.
I think if you're looking at other examples,
which I see both your sides on that.
Too.
Actually, I didn't. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even think about that when you were talking. But I see both your sides on that. The only last thing I'll say, and let's move on, is that you did say one time that, or during this conversation, that studies vary. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Locations, we can't compare them
Correct.
to one another. So we got to be cautious of that as well.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that because they did it, it's going to be perfect
Right.
here and vice versa. Others done bad. I'm not saying at all.
I'm just saying because I see you leery of others,
absolutely.
so then you got to also use that as
I'm
well
using it as an
for
example,
yourself.
but from my personal observation, I think in our city, there's certain spots we would have that similar benefit. Just being in that town, going, okay, if we had it here and being around downtown a lot, I can go, okay, that place sucks, that place sucks. Why is certain areas kind of being more populated? I think it would be a winner there. If they were asking my opinion, I'd go there. If you go to Kansas, you get your way because you're like, yeah, Kansas, I'm not Kansas. Screw you. Good luck to you. I don't think it's going to work there either. I think if Kansas does it, they're going to have a lot of the negativity.
But there's enough cities where we've seen the devastation, what it does to property taxes, what it does to, for example, with the Atlanta Braves,
that's.
And this is where you guys split.
Because the Braves, there is stuff people go, the Braves are killing it. That is our example. They're paying way more.
They were giving the surrounding area like the Royals are getting the surrounding area.
And the city's benefited.
Well, I would disagree. If they're making all the profit, how is the
taxes
city
that come from all that spending?
They have tax subsidies. I mean, they're getting breaks on top of us paying their employees.
Yes, but then it's kind of the balancing act. But there is still money coming into that town that's not done. I mean, it's not. If there was city after city that was getting devastated by this, cities wouldn't be trying to get them to woo them in. I don't think any city try to get the Royals or the Chiefs. I just told you, Kansas has an offer on the table.
On the other side, I would disagree. I don't think that's another city, and I don't even think
it's another state. The whole state got in on this, saying we want you.
Well, I hope they do.
And Overland Park,
there
was an awkward thing in the mayor election for Overland Park going.
I think they do.
One played the careful card of do I want to be supportive of stadium or not. And the other one was like, no, I don't want stadium because he had to separate. But it is an issue.
All right. Let's move on. All right. Ultimately, I think what should be done, I think what would be beneficial for everybody is cut subsidies. I had to put that in there. Cut subsidies and let the people of that area decide.
And to be fair, my first statement was cut all subsidies.
No, I heard you. I give you that. So last topic, let's just we'll try to get through this one. Hopefully this one didn't go too long. Sure. I don't want to keep you guys
I'm having fun.
Stuck here.
Yeah, no.
I'm having fun.
Let's go over to U.S. foreign policy, interventionism versus isolationism. So who wants to take that first? You want to flip a coin here, or
go for it.
you
I'll
good?
let you lead.
So basically, what I kind of want to discuss is, with all the continued wars, as we discussed, all the continued funding, all the continued conflicts, even you discussing 133 countries. I think you mentioned that we've kind of gone in and caused a big ruckus and down there. Should we be intervening out of quote unquote our interest and that country's interest, or should we keep to ourselves?
Well, right. We don't want to be the world police, right? I mean, that's essentially what we're doing right now. And it's all for a show. It's all for freaking people just making record profits. You have military contractors making an excess amount of money. You have governments that are getting a bunch of money. You have, Israel, basically sucking us dry. And while the people of Israel have universal health care, free college, and all these other things off our tax money, right? And so we don't have that as Americans, right? We're instead giving money to the president of Argentina because, quote, I love the guy. I just happen to love Donald Trump said that. And while our farmers are struggling, while the American people are struggling, the president of Argentina was over there doing a happy dance after he received the second check for another $20 billion of the American people's money, right? And so you have a government shutdown that is devastating the country right now. Lines that are out of control in airports, people that are just, I don't know if you guys saw the news today, but it's just out of control. Lines that are out of control because people aren't being paid, so they're walking off the job. Why are we gonna work if we're not getting paid? They're just simply walking off and saying, screw this, we're not getting paid. I can't make enough money to feed my family while the government is over there on a break. And if the Republicans really wanted to end this, they could do it. They could do it tomorrow. I mean, why not? They did it with Doge. They decided everything, how it was going to be funded, who was going to be funded. Meanwhile, healthcare is going to go up 26% for the people. And they own the House. They own the Supreme Court. They own the presidency. They have nothing stopping them from passing whatever the hell they want. Those are the three powers, the shared powers of America, and they could do whatever the fuck they want. But they're choosing a government shutdown, and that's by choice. That's by design. It's not because the Democrats are holding them back. I disagree with that. They have all the power.
Just for clarity on that, you mean you're discussing they have the power to cut foreign funding. That's what you're discussing, right?
They have yes.
Just to stick to the topic
whenever
we're discussing.
Whenever you have a majority in Congress, you don't need the votes of the Democrats, right? Right now, what's holding back some of the Republicans, and I would argue, Tom Massey, I would argue, I never thought I'd say this, Margie Taylor Greene, the Neanderthal who all of a sudden has a brain, but she was extremely uneducated, but all of a sudden she's speaking up and saying, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for Israel receiving all this money, and it was supposed to be America first. And I was shocked to hear her, right? I mean, it's like, what in the hillbilly, Lordy Lord, baby Jesus, Virginia, Guadalupe, So
do you think that we should cut everything? Do you think we should cut all then? So the question is, should we become isolationists or should we continue to intervene?
So, of course, we don't want to intervene. There's certain conflicts that benefit us that we probably want to, intervene with, but for the most part, we don't want to be the world police. We don't want to be in every conflict, because what is it doing? We have a military complex that's just fails every single audit for the last 20 or 30 years, right? And trillions and trillions of dollars is going towards that. We have a national debt that is completely out of control. We pay approximately $1 trillion in interest alone on our national debt. So what is that leaving for our kids? What is that leaving for the future of our country? We're headed downhill, and we need to do better than that. So no, I don't agree that we should be involved in all these conflicts.
Okay, cool. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Dom, can you restart for Kasey?
Okay. I'd be very clear because I think this is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be very upfront. I'm kind of, I don't know the right word, split on this subject.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% one or the other. I'm not trying to sound disagreeable to be disagreeable. Maybe a little devil's advocate of it. Maybe a little, not hedge your bet. But I see both sides on this subject because it is complicated. I mean, the three of us, I love this kind of conversation, having three normal people be able to have this conversation, because I think the scariest thing is when you realize the people in charge are just quote unquote normal people, and they're not blessed with some knowledge and ability that's somehow greater than the three of us per se.
Right.
They might have access to information that we might not have, but in general, so much information's out there. So regarding whether we get involved or not, you kind of touched a little bit on the shutdown and that. And I mean, it all kind of relates. It all kind of doesn't. I've been following the shutdown just because my wife, she's forced to, you're kind of like a slave labor today because you don't get paid, but you better be at work. And she's checking in. And I'm like, hope they do figure this out pretty soon. And now regarding even the shutdown, it could get interesting because the Republicans by themselves cannot just reopen it. I'm not defending them, but they need 60 votes from the Senate. If they don't get that, it ain't opening. They're floating the whole ending the filibuster, which would be really wild. There's going to be some real potentially wild politics coming in the future. Not defending either side. I think, two sides need to come to an agreement. In general, I think that the left is using the only leverage point they have left is to shut it down until they can get, they've asked for very minimal. But on subject here is, on the surface, I agree. I love the libertarian point of view. Let's not be the world police. Let's stay out of everyone's business. I think that it could save us a ton of money. And as I've talked earlier, unintended consequences, regardless of why you think we got into certain wars or 9/11 or any of that stuff, it's still an unintended consequence of something that we have done. So regardless of the specific reason, doesn't matter. It was an unintended consequences of a choice. So by not being involved in everything else, let's go with that idea. Okay, we're not going to be the world police. We're going to isolate. That is also believing that China and Russia are going to have America's best interest at heart. We can't actually believe that this is a game of risk where everyone will just stay nice and neat in their own pieces.
That's why I say some conflicts do benefit us. Yep.
And it's not even the conflict; it's the influence in a way. It's if we don't get involved, that was kind of the whole Red Scare of the Cold War was. If we don't get in there, Russia is going to start taking more and more territory, and the Red Scare is going to win. And now all of a sudden, communism's taking over while we're a smaller, influential part.
That's why I think we can't allow Russia to take Ukraine, and so that's very beneficial to our country. Yeah.
Well, but some could argue the same thing.
Yeah, hold on. Let him finish his 10 minutes.
Okay,
sorry.
You're good.
Fine.
You're good.
But I was going to say, some think we should be involved in Ukraine, some don't. I know that, for example, Israel does not have health benefits because we gave them money for weapons to finish on their war. That's not why. It's $20 billion. A lot of money. They're not funding it on there. They're buying. I mean, really, it's if you want to really get really wild on it, it's buying our own weapons from us with our own money. It's kind of keeping that industrial complex going in that regards. It's not funding on there. Even on Argentina, they say, well, it is a lot of money going to there, stabilizes their economy, helps basically bail them out. It's a loan we gave them because they want, I'm not agreeing with that, but I'm just saying that's their point of view is when we get involved in all these places, it helps economically. It helps us if we have, like you were saying, in a way with the countries we destabilized. I mean, that kind of felt like almost like a moral obligation to fix what we fucked up. But if you look at countries that we do business with and they're going, we need help. Yeah, it's kind of giving your buddy a short-term loan. And you even said it too. I don't agree with the whole, he's my buddy, he was nice to me, so I gave him $20 billion. But if it's countries we are tight with, if they're our ally, we support them because it's long-term beneficial. When we go and support Israel, part of the reason why we support them is not just to go, AIPAC paid us off, so we do it. There is a mutual partnership between technology, health care benefits that they share, intel with war. I mean, I know that we didn't cover the subject regarding free speech. Mm-hmm. But part of free speech is not necessarily censorship. Is not saying you can't say this and Facebook blocked that. What's really happening to free speech, not to jump into a topic we're not covering, but is the algorithms that have basically created silos. And, I think probably the first Trump, when he ran the first time, and he talked about fake news and he created that. That was part of the start of the propaganda machine of social media and everything else because people, I think the phrase was alternative facts. Starting from that era, we've got just people that live with, there is only one fact, but we believe there's alternative facts no matter what the subject is. So when it comes to different countries, we can have a creative narrative of, oh, because we involved in here, that became this and this and this negative outcome. Well, somebody else could say, well, by being involved in this and this, positive outcome. And it kind of almost comes down to a philosophy of, like, if you're a libertarian and going, let's isolate, we don't want to be involved and be the police, that is a gamble. I mean, by not being involved is making a involvement. You're going, okay, we're off the table. Do we think China is going to have our best interest? Do you think they'll make moves that'll, negatively affect us? And some of the bigger picture things where I think we run into big risk by not being involved that could really bite us in the ass, besides intel when it comes to countries, it's why would countries want to ever, come after us? And this is the only, I'll give you this, is the only conspiracy theory-ish, it's not even conspiracy theory, it's just the only thing I'll give you is the theory is we will sooner than later run into a war on resources. And that is when it'll get scary. When we get into a war of resources, that's why if you notice all these deals that they're doing, like Trump was with Japan just 2 days ago, made a big deal trying to bring, I can't remember the exact details, but the big cornerstone of it was rare minerals.
Yeah, you talked about the same with Ukraine as well.
Yeah, and same with Ukraine. Why is this such a deal? Well, because, and this probably also goes back, this is my own conspiracy theory part of why did we get involved in the Middle East for so long? It wasn't for, some may, religion, wars, and this. No, it's oil, because that's how our economy functions, is on oil. If we don't have access to it, our economy falls. And I believe, some of the part I agree with you totally on is, and their motivations might be different. It might be personally beneficial, but I think some of them are about economic benefits as a country. If our economy falls in America, it's a shitstorm to deal with in a big picture. And if you're talking about fighting over oil back in the this 50s to 70s, if we don't control that, that would have ruined our economy. Well, even worse than that, if we can control energy, what's next? Water, minerals, all these things that control our, our electric cars aren't going to run if we don't have some of these rare minerals. Our electronics don't run if we don't have them. And I think that is a portion. If we leave that wide open, we're only dealing with what's in our own borders while other countries start combining. So regardless of why we team up and ally with certain countries, if we stay completely out of it, like we go, we're going to isolate. Well, we even seen firsthand, Trump was very isolationist, at least on the surface when he ran. That was what he kind of ran on, was I'm going to be an isolationist. And he was very we're going to tariff everybody. These other countries try to go, well, we can't rely on the U.S. the same way we did. We better team up together before it's too late. And that's where it becomes us versus the world. And, if the world's not coming after us, fine. But if we're going to be us versus the world, I would like to have some allies. And sometimes that means we do have to support one another. That's like when World War II happened and they created the, I'm trying to blame it, talk for so long. What's that? Where in the countries that are, if you attack them, you attack us all. What's that? I'm drawing such a blank.
G8, I believe. I think that's what they call it. Or I forget what the actual name is.
Are you talking about the actual, are you talking about the United Nations?
Not the United Nations. It's our allies that we have, where it's what became such a big deal when Russia did not want Ukraine to become a
sovereign state?
No, they didn't want to be part of the
G8, I believe. I think that's what it's called.
Whatever, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Talk for long, people, right? But it's,
I don't know.
But it's the alliance of.
NATO?
NATO.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Yeah, NATO and BRICS.
Yeah. They did not want to be part of NATO. We're part of NATO because we were like, hey, I mean, I don't disagree with when Trump said, hey, why are we the ones basically funding you all? Let's pay your share. But that was the whole point of it, was to have that. By being part of NATO alone is not being isolationist. Would you agree?
By being a part of it?
Yeah. By being a part of it.
No. You want to know my opinion on it?
Of course. I mean, you're like.
Well, your 10 minutes is up. No, we should not be a part of NATO.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you're in it, you are contributing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll respond to what he said about the Republicans needing five votes, which was or a total of 60 votes, he said, right? So they need 7 votes from the Democrats to do that. But I would disagree because all the Republicans have to do is cut out the filibuster. They've done it 3 times this year alone, and so that's all they have to do to bypass the Democrat vote and go ahead and pass this bill that is going to affect a lot of Americans. They're essentially holding SNAP hostage to increase insurance premiums. It's going to go up 110%. So people that are paying $800 right now per month in premiums are going to be paying $1,900 a month.
I agree with all of what you're saying.
Hey,
I mean, literally, I fully agree.
Can you scoot over just
Yeah.
a tad? You're
Yeah.
cutting-
My
cutting
question
into my
is,
frame.
like, if you can clarify, because I'm very interested in this, the whole you're saying they did not use the filibuster 3 times. I'm very curious in this because I'm not an expert in this, but what I do know of is both parties have been very afraid. With even Trump said it's the nuclear option, and he said it in his Trumpian way of it's not the type of nuclear, it's the other nuclear, but it's the if they go that route and they blow it up, that means the filibuster is gone, and that's why they're hesitant to do that. And both parties have been guilty of risking it because if you take away that filibuster, when they had it with when the Dems were in charge, and Meacham
again, they can't overdo the filibuster. They have the majority, so the Republicans have complete control.
No, but if they get rid of that though, that's what I'm saying. You're saying they got rid of it, but that's the thing is everyone's making the point of. I'm kind of a little bit naive, but from what I've read is. They don't want to do that because the Republicans have basically Trump's telling them get rid of the filibuster, and Thune's going I don't know about that because it's like if we get rid of it, the reason why both parties have held on to it is when you're not in charge, you've now taken the whole reins off of stopping stuff completely. When the Dems tried to put all that stuff through when they were in charge with Biden, they didn't blow up the filibuster for the same purpose because they were like if the Republicans get in charge again. And that's gone, we have no way to stop this. Like right now, they'd be like, we'll do whatever we want. So that's what I'm kind of curious of is if you're saying a couple times they've already done that. I'm not defending the Republicans, I'm going to be very clear. But regarding the filibuster, I'm very curious if when they did it 2 times, why that wouldn't affect, the future of it. Because they act like every time if they ever go against the filibuster, that means it's gone forever.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
I'm just curious.
Well, they have the ability to use a filibuster right now, but they're essentially holding SNAP hostage,
of course.
right?
No, I agree.
And so, and SNAP, it's for every one meal that SNAP provides. Or that charities provide, because charities can't, they're not going to be able to keep up with the demand. SNAP creates 9 meals for that. 30% of the people have disabilities. 60% of the people are women and children that are going to be directly affected by this. In a system that we have, again, that forces people to be on these programs to be able to sustain their life in America because it's gotten difficult. I mean, people in America, in my opinion, have become some of the hardest working people in the world because they have to be. Rent is completely out of control here. And so this directly affects, everybody. And I would also, one other stat that was very surprising to me, for every dollar that's spent in SNAP, it creates $1.5 dollars in economic benefits. So this is from grocery stores that benefit from people buying groceries or being able to afford groceries.
No arguments.
And so,
but it's also a form of price control too, if you think about it, which is not a good thing.
And I just don't think the American people are going to be able to afford insurance premiums that are 26% higher. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's already, we have premiums that we're the laughing stock of the world. Like I mentioned earlier, I became a dual citizen of Mexico to take advantage of their free health care. I within 3 hours of getting my universal health care card, I was already seeing a doctor. That's impossible here without an appointment, without anything, just walking in, and so it's insane. We have a system that's broken.
I got one question, Leo.
Yeah.
Can you scoot over just a tad? You keep cutting in that camera.
Sorry.
But do you think, this is a question, so I usually like to ask people, instead of the SNAP benefit program, do you think that these people would still be fed on local charities?
No.
Churches, drives, food pantries, kind of the stuff we're seeing now, popping up all over the place.
So that happened during World War II, right? So what happened? SNAP didn't even exist, during the Great Depression. Charities were responsible for feeding people, and charities have been around for 100 years, and the poverty level only gets worse. So no, it doesn't. It won't fix the problem. Charities will, for every one meal that charity provides for people, SNAP creates 9 meals. So there's a difference of 8 meals there just for every one meal that charity does.
So you're saying that the funds aren't getting to the proper places? Is that why it's 9 meals versus 1?
Some of the richest people in the country own charities, and that's because there's nothing but corruption with these charities, right?
But the only thing what I'm hinting to here is that me and you are on the same page. I don't trust politicians. I think they're all majority of them are slime balls.
They are.
So why do you entrust in the SNAP program when it's ran by the same people you discuss being corrupt?
It's not that I trust it, is that we've built a system that people depend on it.
Right.
The majority of
but
people
that's what I mean, though. They're depending on it.
Right.
The whole point is to get
them away. It'll be great if
because I'd like to know the average participant. Like how many years an average participant is on that program.
I don't know that I have those numbers, but I do know that the majority of people are actually white Americans. They're not even Hispanics. They're not even black people like they try to make it seem. They're actually white Americans. That tells you everything.
Is that per capita or is that just?
That's for the country, right?
No, I mean, that's like per capita, like percentage of each race.
Yeah, so they're the number one recipients.
Right,
of SNAP
population-wise, because, Caucasians are going to be largely, of the population.
Right.
But per capita, so inside, the African Americans being 13%, and I don't know what are white people. I have no idea. Would it be higher per capita?
That I don't know. Yeah. But honestly, but
either way, it doesn't matter.
Right.
My thing is what I'm discussing because in my mind, anybody on it, I'd like to get them off, and I'd like to go back to community-based programs, a more smaller, controlled setting. Because think about this. If you are just letting somebody take control of this program, you have no idea they're in Washington, D.C., or they're out of reach. They're out of mind, out of reach, out of sight, out of mind. So you can just go, oh, well, it's doing good. A lot of people are benefiting from it. A lot of people need it, which we know is true, but also not true because I know, just like probably you guys know, people who abuse it, who don't need to be on it, that go right or they meet the threshold of making under a certain amount of money and they use it. My concern is that like if we're not monitoring that and staying on top of something that's so large, it's going to get abused. So don't you think it'd be better if it was more, I don't know, I guess we could say I'd like to see it county to county, but let's just say city to city where people are donating these products. People are having to have more of a foot in the game when it comes to this stuff, and it's an option. It's not mandatory, so you're not pissing people off that don't want to participate. And then in that, you kind of have more control because you can see, oh, damn, Susie or freaking whatever, Tom or whatever, he's been here for 3 years. Like, what's going on, Tom? Let's talk to you, man. What do we got to do to get you off this, Or, hey, man, I noticed, I heard you have a good job. Why are you here? Like you don't need this shit. We need to give this to somebody else who does. Don't you think that it would be a lot more controlled if we were to do that?
The percentage of corruption is 0.4%. Relatively non-existent, right? And so
how do we know that though?
We know that because the studies that have been done on this.
But we know studies are flawed.
No.
Yeah.
96% of the people, on there, and I have all the stats here.
I can give you one better.
And I just ask because I conflict with this as well because I'll name off a study and a statistic, but at that same time I've also been caught accusing studies of being fake. You know what I mean? So I have to check myself on that as well.
I'll give you one better. I'll concede that there's 0% fraud. Let's just say, for argument's sake, there's no fraud, and I can even hear the argument being said: are the people that are getting SNAP is that even enough for them to sustain? So let's say are they going, man, I got so much I can eat whatever I want, or is this barely getting them by? And would they be better off if, I mean, I'm not saying to motivate them by starving them, but I am saying to not have them. Oh, sorry. I'm saying, could a situation be done better? Like what he's saying, where we don't like politicians because they're not going to do it well. We don't want the federal government running it because it's such a big apparatus that it can't run efficient. Is there a way that they could have done it at a state or city level? Like kind of what they're doing. I'm not agreeing with this either, but with this education program, they're going. We need to make this more localized and not done by the feds.
So the average amount of money that someone on SNAP is receiving is $6.20 per day. That's about $4,200 a year. Versus our legislators are getting $79 per day per diem to go eat and do whatever they want.
I know chicks that are getting like $800 a month, man. Like they're getting some. They got like 4 kids. I'm telling. I can't.
Yeah.
I ain't
I'm talking about the average.
Name you, but you know who you are.
I'm talking about the average, right?
They were the ones funding the carne asadas and shit. No, I'm telling you.
No, but
I know on average. Yeah, you're saying it's
on
low.
average,
it's
right?
Low. Okay.
And so it's very low compared to what legislators are getting. And it's not that it's a free handout, guys. This is coming out of your paycheck. This is literally coming out of your paycheck.
Well, that's the issue.
Because our people aren't making enough money. Yeah. And it goes back to corruption, because what happens, corporations are simply not paying their people enough money. And so if we don't pay the employees enough money, they're not going to be able to sustain their life. Well, and our dollar has lost a tremendous amount of value.
I'm just curious, do you know which taxes that comes out of that pays for the SNAP?
No, I don't know what taxes. I'm guessing there's a section on there.
I don't give a fuck. It comes out of my check.
Well,
That's all I
care about. Well, my point being is if it's just
and I wish it would stop.
Sake, if it's coming from the feds, they only take your income tax from us, or not property tax, just your income tax. If you're not above a certain threshold, you don't even make enough to pay the said tax that goes to that.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the last time I looked at a pay stub.
Well, I don't know. I think they'd still have their income tax taken out, so it'd still be a percentage. It'd be a very small percentage.
It'd be very small because you have to a certain amount. You're not taxed on.
So, and let's get back on let's wrap up the interventionism and the isolation. I know we got off on a tangent there. That's okay. That's what this podcast does. That's what we do. But yeah, so that's kind of what I think. I heard what you think. I've heard which you kind of almost are both sides.
I can say I'm definitely both sides, but I just see that
because I'm more of cut it off completely, which I'd be fine with the tier system of cutting it back, just like I think with immigration. I think with the way they did it by just boom, we're going out there and going to play cowboy and round them all up. I thought that was insane. Yeah. That we can tier step this back. Yeah. So I think that should be the goal.
Yeah.
But just a couple of other things to talk about on the interventionism. Why do you think, and do you feel sometimes that the whole China-Russia thing, the boogeyman, they're going to come after us if we don't intervene and stay alert over there and get involved in some of these regime changes and wars? And why do you believe that's actually going to happen? Why do you believe China and Russia are colluding somehow to take over America? And also, why do you believe that all the intervention we have been doing is not causing that? Or maybe you do believe that, or I don't know.
From my understanding, there's geopolitical folks. I don't know all the exact who's with who. I don't per se think Russia is with China. I think they ally like anybody else. Can I leverage ourselves against them? They see us as, I don't think they see us as their friend. I can say China even, they think they're all passive. They're very aggressive towards the Philippines, who we consider an ally. They have they're cornering off areas over there with their boats to secure, different areas that are Philippines. So they're already showing they're going to encroach on other countries. Like I said, we may be years away from them ever coming near us, but you don't even need to anymore. Between the where the technology's going, the world's economy is there, it's still, I think, eventually going to come to resources. So it could be a down the line thing.
Yeah, like the Taiwan issue right now with the microchips and all, they're fighting over that stuff. I see that.
And Russia too, they've always seen themselves as, we're going to protect ourselves for their isolationists with we're going to poke when we can. They don't have the ability.
But why can't we start making our shit here?
I think that'd be great.
You know what I mean?
I absolutely think.
And also, too, we always tend to look at these countries as boogeyman, China and Russia, but really we're just talking about their government. There's a lot of good people over there.
Definitely.
They're stuck in the middle just like with because if we look at those two countries as a boogeyman, then what are we? What's the United States government?
No, totally.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that how you just like we've talked about every conflict.
I get that. I've heard that remark before. I've talked to military guys. I've talked to other people that feel the same way. They're like, well, Gabriel, if we're not over there, they're going to show up over here.
I don't know if they're going to show up over here. I'm not saying they're going to show up over here. I think it's still probably you're probably right in a lot of ways. A lot of this is economic in different forms. The benefits, I don't know, but it's our ally partners. So it's not just whether China's going to come here. Mm-hmm. We have partners that we trade with all through other countries. I think that's where you start to lose influence. Are they doing a deal with us, or are they doing deals with India?
What do we owe them other than trading? That's all we necessarily owe them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if we're not getting anything from them, then why are we funding them?
No, fighting who?
No, funding.
Funding them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it.
That's my thing.
I imagine I kind of looking at it because I was curious. Why do we fund other countries? I was just in the baseline. Why do we do it?
Because Israel's not the only one. Like you said, we just sent Argentina a bunch of money. That
USAID had.
Dom, how many countries do we fund, man? Can you look that up real quick?
And USAID was one that Trump went after, but that in itself was funding.
And it kind of fell through, right? I mean, what they end up cutting? Only 500 billion or something like that, or it all blew in smoke after the whole breakup.
Check I was promised. So,
yeah, what the fuck?
All I know is that we're doing a great job of destroying ourselves, right? Our government is completely compromised. I mean, whenever we're giving handouts to other countries, I mean, we've been completely compromised.
But you can agree it didn't just start now. I mean, we've seen that compromise with Biden. We've seen the compromise with Bush. We've seen the compromise with Obama. We've seen all these compromises.
Anytime we give money out, we're not just handing it out. There is strings attached. There's influence we're wanting. It's not just, hey, we didn't have $5 billion. You guys want it? Yeah. There is influence and strings that we want.
Right.
That's why.
But that could be fuckery.
There could absolutely be
like for the whole Mossad's the most intelligent agency. It's like, really, the NSA, the CIA, like, what are we talking about here?
I mean, some of that stuff I always wonder, like, when it comes to what we don't know, it is like
I don't know, you don't know, we have to rely on them to tell us.
And I think with the military industrial complex, like you mentioned it, when you talk about this kind of money, do I absolutely think that there's fuckery going on? Absolutely. There's sales guys in there that are going, I'm going to get a cut out of this. I'm going to do a deal here.
I see it at the local level. I see it a lot. I've seen it in construction. I've seen kickbacks, man. Like if it's that small of a level where I'm seeing it, I can't imagine what it's like at the top.
There's a reason why we can't. There's never been an audit recently on the military of their budget.
Exactly. Which should have been the first thing that fucking Doge went after.
What's been interesting, like I've said, is with my wife over at the GSA. Yeah. There's way less fuckery when it comes to building projects because they have something for a long time that keeps an eye on that. But the military complex, there's no eyes on this.
Yeah, but like we discussed though with E-Verify, there's ways around things.
Oh, there's always
checks being cut to certain charities, and there's certain LLCs, and there's ways around.
Well, it's kind of like the joke. You ever seen that old? It's now an old movie, Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they go, "How do you fund all this?" And he's like, "You really think it costs $42,000 for a toilet seat cover? Come on!" Like they got these stuff in there.
Or even like on War Dogs, whenever they had all the prices to how much it cost to keep them over there in Iraq, and it's like, I'm going to make this up. I don't remember what it said. $5 million just to have AC and heat out there. You know what I mean? Or AC, probably not heat.
But there's
it's like, does it really cost that, or is there some sort of cutting off the top of the cake there?
Where's it go? Exactly. Anytime you have a mix, I'm with you. When you have that mix of government and private sector, the fuckery happen. If you have if you had 100% one or the other, the fuckery goes.
Well, look at you. You're out there reading all these studies, fucking 80, 100 pages of studies, and even you don't know on some of it. No. It just goes so deep. I got a buddy named Post. I mean, this dude, smart man. It digs really deep. I mean, sometimes the shit he sends me, I'm like, dude, where do you work? Like, who do you work for? And he has a hard time finding everything as well. So it's just so I don't know, just congested and all over the place, like to where there is no centralization for clear communication. And then the government stands back and goes, why is everybody fighting and they don't support us, and they're supporting the opposition and this crazy guy who they, the Mondani, oh, that guy's a socialist, that guy's this. And it's like, why would they do that? It's like, well, you are the reason why they're going this route. Yeah. And then even on the Democrats, when some of them went this way, you are the reason why they went this way. So, and then now we're starting to see, which I think we're going to see personally here in the next 10 years, were all these experiments of what Trump did, what I believe he lied a lot on his campaign and duped a lot of individuals just like myself. I believe, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mondani's probably going to get the same thing over the next 5 years. I don't see that working. But I think out of that, we're going to meet in the middle somehow. And it may not be the Libertarian Party because we can never get our shit together, unfortunately. But I think something will emerge out of that. Some type of third party.
Yeah.
Me and actually Gracia, we're actually talking about this today or the other day, that a third party will emerge possibly out of this and may be beneficial to a society where we finally come up with something for the people, an actual the American Citizens Party. You know what I mean? Like,
well, multiple parties
where we're tackling actual local, like it'd be nationwide, but it'd be what the people are actually struggling with and how to actually
really
approach
what we
that.
all want.
Yeah,
when you're in the two-party system, it sucks because you have things like you have Trump saying go Cuomo because they can go, well, one of you's going to win. Like,
right.
You get stuck in that like, well, it's either going to be him or him. Versus,
I'm tired of the lesser evil shit.
No,
man.
It's always the lesser evil.
Yeah, it drives me
nuts.
nuts.
When you have a lesser evil and it's one or two,
I mean, I hope that a third party will work, but honestly, at this point, I think we need a whole government reset. I mean, my biggest hope is that, of all things, the Epstein files come out and all of these people that are in office now.
The Epstein files were in the whole dude.
Yeah,
open up the Epstein files.
Take down everybody that's in fucking Congress.
I'm
right
with
now,
you on that, Leo.
And do a whole fucking reset. And I'm the first to say this, and I said it on your podcast last time, and that's true. We need a whole fucking government reset. And our biggest hope is that those files do come out, because I guarantee you, a lot of those motherfuckers that are been compromised are right now in office. And
I think also too, and I hope that, like, I don't know why this is so hard to fucking understand. It baffles me sometimes. If you leave people alone and let them live their lives, okay, with the rules of don't harm others, don't invade in other people's property or destruct their shit like common sense stuff like that. Let people live. Stop trying to intervene. And I think we would be, I mean, we learned this shit on the playground, man, the sandbox. Keep your hands to yourself. Leave people alone. You know what I mean? Why does that rule diminish as we get older?
Well, I guess here's where it would come in, because this is where I always feel like I'm in the middle, because I kind of see both sides. I feel a little bit on both sides. I was trying to think, where would I identify as? To me, it's always, I'm with you 100%. Take care. Take care of yourself. Like, I mean, not to be cold, not to be whatever. Like, I want to help people, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? If you want to be in that situation, kind of like everybody's your own problem. I can only help somebody be friends with you. But on the other side, it's if you cannot help yourself, if you're physically or mentally incapable, I think they should be helped. And that's where you run into that like line of, why do we need to help? Because somebody's going to go, well, I think taxes are theft. So, and how else we're going to pay for it? And charity, well, that doesn't work. And you get that back and forth of, well, government is corrupt. And then, oh, no, we don't have enough of the private sector to help with that. And that's where we're in that balancing act, which is where I think that multiple parties could eventually help, where you're like, that's where you have, oh my gosh, I have to agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I agree how hard that is to say, because I've had plenty of people who are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I agree with them.
I can't believe
but it's
lately she's been
they had one point
speaking up against Israel.
They had a point that
which
you
is
agreed
amazing.
with.
Yeah.
You had a point you agreed with. You go, well, I agree with that one, so I can agree with you, and you state that as a statement, and but everything else I don't agree with. If there was other parties, though, somebody might be like, yeah, I have the same view as you, this, and this. You might have actually more in line with them than you don't, because you don't have to just be, we're team this, or we're team that, that's it. And
yeah, I just think everything starts to get murky whenever you're enforcing thing on others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't think I'm all for charity. The countless GoFundMes I've donated to, the countless drives, the countless backpacks, and all the shit I've done over the time I've, have lived. I'm there for you. I'm there to help people. The problem is it has to be optional, because why are you right by telling another individual that you must help these people? That's where we start to get into issues, is because we're going, no, hey, Peter, you don't have a fucking choice. You got to help these people and you have to donate. That's, we're Americans, man. We never liked it. We fought a whole fucking war on this shit against the British by telling us what we can and can't do and taxing us.
The problem is that, we used to tax the rich, right? We used to tax people. Anyone is the 400 in 1960 was $400,000, right, per married couple, which is the equivalent of someone making $4.3 million a year.
The average what?
So we used to tax people that made over 400,000 in 1960, right? Mm-hmm. We used to tax the rich, right? Right, which is the equivalent of someone making 4.3 million. So these are rich people, not doctors, not the middle class. I'm talking about wealthy people, business owners would get charged at a rate of 91% here in America. And so whenever you tax the rich, that's when you don't have to wonder where is this money coming from, because it's coming from the very wealthy who are just essentially hoarding money at this point.
Yeah, but don't you get tired of saying, though, let's tax the rich, when every time, when we say tax the rich, everyone's talking about these Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg type individuals. Yeah. But let's be honest. They're not the ones getting hit. It's the doctors, it's the lawyers, it's the guys making over 200, 300K.
Yeah, that has never been proposed. It's
no, but what I'm saying is, because it doesn't matter what you propose, these guys are going to buy an entire tax law firm, to be able to evade these taxes somehow.
Well, they set up in other countries, like you said.
Yeah, or do that.
They'll get around this. So it's was it Trump or who was it that got them to repatriate money back to the U.S. by... They did something to where...
I'm not sure.
But basically, it's trying to get money back in the U.S. so we can have it in the economy.
So you're saying don't tax the rich because they're going to leave the country?
No, I'm saying let's stop continually saying tax the rich, and let's start saying stop taxing us so much. That's what we need to be fighting. We're working, 3 months out of the year for free, a majority of us? Like, instead of always going at, well, we are, you need to too. That's a pipe dream. It's never going to work. I don't care what Mondani says. I don't care what anybody else says. I would rather focus on us all uniting and saying, hey, if you motherfuckers don't cut back our taxes, we are going to stop it ourselves.
Right. So the proposal of the progressives has always been cut taxes on middle class, cut taxes and raise them on wealthy people, corporations who are paying nothing into the system. It's never been about taxing someone making $400,000 a year.
No, I just said that's what it ends up on, because these people find loopholes around that.
We'll find out this experiment, because when you don't have them to tax, because you can't, it's like, I'm going to tax you. Well, I'm over in this country, so psych, you can't get me. Well, what are you going to do when you go, we have bills now to pay? So if you're the feds, you just run up the debt, which hits you on the back end.
Yeah, I know.
If you're a city or state,
grocery carts cost $300 now.
But if you're a city or state, you have to balance your budget. So now you're cutting programs, going, that one's gone, that one's gone. We can't have police and all these things. What do you do if it doesn't work? Essentially.
What do you do if it's going to work? It worked. It's from 1960 till what, the 80s. And when did the trickle down economics president get in? Reagan.
But how can we compare to 60s?
It worked all the way to the 80s.
But in the 60s, money. I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but it's way more mobile now.
America was booming. We built New York City. We built all these massive, beautiful cities that the world had never seen. The Americans were thriving. It was the best time to be in America economically.
But were your Vanderbilts and your all the wealthiest of them, were they leaving to other countries the way they do now?
Were the billionaires leaving to other countries? Yeah. No. Why would they?
They do now, though.
Well, let them leave. We have a place that that a lot of people will be happy to take their place. So why do we want someone not contributing
Because
to our tax system?
I'm fine with saying let them leave because
They're not
I'm not here to
contributing.
force.
Yeah, I'm
but
not either,
but are we ready to take that hit?
That's
the
of
thing
we
as an
are.
American people.
Of course we are, because
Well,
they're not-
like me and you may sit
Yeah.
here and say, I don't give a fuck. I'll start a garden out
it's not whether I
there.
wanna see 'em or
I'll
not.
fucking
I
wear
want
the
their
same.
money here.
Yeah,
Here's the thing, though.
I'll wear the same shoes for fucking 20. I could see
Yeah.
that, but is the majority ready for that? Because
Of
I've
course.
noticed a lot of people talk, but they're
Yeah.
not really ready
But
for
the,
it.
Well,
You
but
know
the
what I
logic
mean?
Well-
part that I'm having a hard time with, and I'm not saying they all
And that could
will,
be even myself too.
when they're not contributing to this country, when they're not
but
even,
that's my point.
they're not
though.
even living in the country now.
But that is
they're
my-
living in different countries. They're living on yachts. They're most of the time they spend traveling. I mean, that's just.
But that's my point. I'm trying to understand. If to get the money, you got to tax them, but their money's not here. So who we tax it? If there's nobody in that,
There's gonna be someone in that place.
But-
There's goods here. There's
Right,
gonna be someone.
He's
to
asking
take
though,
place.
if there's none, like just to say hypothetically,
hypothetically.
every single business person that is going to get taxed 50%, whatever they're thinking of, moves.
Yeah, that'd be great for the country. I mean, we'd have someone
who would
fill in
tax
that
it?
gap. Would feel someone
They
would
can
fill
still
that
do
gap.
business.
No, so
Oh,
you're
it
saying
will be
who
taxed.
would fill the
Or are you
void?
saying? Let me ask this.
So you're saying give them the free range and
Well, are
don't
you
have
saying-
them pay
No, I don't
taxes?
agree with
Well,
that
are
at
you
all.
saying block them from being able to do business? Anybody that's not in America
Of
can't do
course
business
not.
in America.
Of course, I'm not saying that.
Then
'Cause someone
I'm just
will
trying to
take
figure
the
out-
place. Someone will take.
They
the
even
place.
left though. They just let their money left. Their business is still here. They just took their money to it can't be taxed.
It'll be taxed. You have to enforce taxes. You have to enforce taxes on these corporations.
Well, I guess
If
we'll have
not,
to
we're
see
gonna-
how Mandani's going to
we're-
figure it out.
we're
Well,
gonna-
that's what I was thinking too. I think Mandami is going to be kind of a
Test subject.
a test for I don't know. You said you don't want to call it socialism.
although-
I don't know what he
even though he calls himself,
socialist.
yeah.
So
Well-
we'll be able to see, which I think is good. Just
Yeah,
like I said,
I do too.
Just like I said, I think it's good that we seen what Trump was about, which we seen wasn't much what we thought. And I think it's going to be a good on the other side to see if socialism works or not. You know?
We saw a terrorist. We saw people calling him terrorist, saying that there was going to be another 9/11. So yeah, we're going to see if socialism for the average American people works, and not socialism for the rich, because that's what we have now. So that's the big difference in Mandami, and I think that's what he's trying to get at. And so we're going to see if it works. We're going to see whenever the people see that he's not a terrorist, that he's not blowing up stuff, and he's not destroying the country. Well, here's the thing: when the people see that that's not the thing, what are they going to say next? Because we're
hold on, what
about
do
to
they
find
say?
out that he's a terrorist.
Oh yeah,
that he's
that's all. That's all.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
watches that shit but boomers. All right, so we don't care about that shit. Fox News, CNN, they're all fucking washed out. And it's funny because we were talking about the whole fake media shit, which podcasts and YouTube got slandered with for what, like the past, I want to say, 10 years, we call it 15 years. I mean, when podcast came out in 2009. So they were the whole, that's fake, that's not real. You can't rely on YouTube. You can't rely on podcasts. Well, it's starting to become more of the way of everyone getting a lot of people getting their information, and almost more independent and more, objective. Not all the way around. I know there's still a lot, that are out there that are the mainstream media guys breaking off like Don Lemon and making their own podcast. You know what I mean?
They take it's like
Or
that's what you
what's
do.
his name? Levin. Fucking, I can't stand that dude.
Almost every one of them done it. Like
Mark Levin or whatever his name is. I don't know if he has
Tucker,
a podcast.
You got anyways,
Tucker.
You got some of these guys. They've had a following. They break off on their own versus the organic.
Yeah.
You know.
But at least they're not being like these independent journalists, like the Glenn Greenwalds, name whoever your favorite is. Me personally, Dave Smith, even though I don't think he considers himself a journalist. But you're able to he's having these people on. He's having these people, these Scott Hortons that'll come on and they'll discuss these topics and break them down. Now, we can go through all of it and see what's true or what's not. I'm not going to say everything Scott Horton says is 100% factual. But I can guarantee you he's a lot more factual than fucking Fox News and CNN, you know what I mean? Or pick whoever you follow, because there's not that big money there driving that company.
Maybe. We don't know.
There are some people that are getting.
I think what's most beneficial.
I just think it's smaller.
It is smaller, and I think, but what's most beneficial when they usually do it right, that you don't see on CNN, you don't see on Fox News. To me, the big network news is kind of like watching back in the day, or I guess currently, if you ever watch like wrestling, as a kid, I used to watch it. It's all fake, staged.
Yeah.
I feel like all their debates, all their conversation is fake stage. Like, longest time it was going to be, we're going to have, if you're Fox News, you're going to have a strong, in their opinionated view of theirs.
They sound like robots, yeah.
And then you're going to have a punching bag. Somebody that can't fight back.
And you always got to have the hot blonde on Fox
Yes.
News. They always do that shit.
And then on CNN, what they'll do, they do the exact opposite. But then they've learned you can't just have a punching bag. Then they switch to, we're going to have 6 people, and then 1 that might be strong, so they have no time to talk, or we'll outnumber them. That's the new hot thing they're doing. Here, that's why I was so excited to have this, because this has been fun.
Fox News is doing that? Or Fox?
Fox's biggest show right now is Outnumbered. They have their show. I watch it briefly, just kind of see what they're saying.
Yeah, I see Pierce Morgan doing that a lot. They're doing the panel debates.
They have a standard 5 people usually. It's 4 against 1. It'd be like as if like...
Yeah, I don't like that. It's kind of Jerry Springer
It is.
to me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's staged.
So I think the shows like this are great because, people get to talk. You get to hear their
Yes.
viewpoints. And we're starting to see something we've never seen before in media. So
You get points vetted out better, because I always said back in the day, if Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly would have just teamed up on a show, I'd be like, I'd watch it all day. You have 2 strong personalities going at it that wouldn't back down and would talk and enjoy, but can still be friends.
Yeah, but we started to realize most of those guys don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're fed a script right in front of them.
True.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, I at least
being
even if it
paid
is a script,
$50 million
be a
a
strong
year.
person that can at least get that, even if it's a talking point. I just hate when I see a talking point done, and then you're like, oh, well, there should be a counter to that, and it's like the most weak.
Well, and it's also hard to get everything in on a show as well. Like even this one, I'm sure a lot of the times people are like, well, why the fuck didn't Gabriel say this, or why didn't Leo or Kasey say this? It's hard to
4
get
hours,
everything
you
in.
probably get more in versus like
you would.
Versus we've
That's
got,
why long form conversation
It's
is
great.
outbeat.
No, it is.
But you know what the issue is though? People don't have enough time to consume it.
Yeah, it does take a
Like even me going back and forth between when I was in manufacturing and going into PM and in construction, I've gone back and forth throughout the 5 years. After all day of being a PM, I'm on the phones, I'm out in the field, I'm dealing with fires here and there.
Plug in for
I can't, but when I'm machining 10 hours a day, I'm consuming content. You know what I mean? And so I can stay up to date on what I deem is factual, what I see, the person I listen to who I think has a good track record of being right, or listening to them debate and seeing that they're not able to win on this topic. So I entrust in them, and I'm able to, and I listen to all, dude, I listen to Destiny, Hassan Piker, Nick Fuentes, Dave, like all these people that are from different opposite sides of the spectrum, but average people don't have that. I see that, and I understand how they feel. Because they're like, man, I don't want to go 10 hours a day and I'm dealing with all this shit and I got to go home. I got family, I got to cook, I got to work out, I got to whatever, clean. So it is difficult, but it shouldn't be that. If these are our elected leaders, if these are the people that are supposed to be for us, like they say, then why aren't they simplifying everything for us instead of putting the blame on, well, sorry, you don't have 10 hours a day to be able to figure out everything of what we're doing. It's like, come on, man.
One last thing for me, I would say whenever you see someone, a candidate that's speak that both sides are trying to take out Democrats and Republicans, that's probably the candidate that's working for the people and not the corporations. So keep that in mind. Look for that. Follow those candidates. Look at what their platform. Look at what they're saying, and do some research on what they're proposing. And I think the people will be surprised.
I agree.
I think.
He closed out.
Yeah.
You want to do a close up?
No, I said it's been a lot of fun. To appreciate you coming out. I mean, just to have those kind of conversations where you're like, you can in person disagree. We text and we'll see on Instagram, we'll say stuff, but it's to have that interaction where you're like, hey, I find it fascinating to be like, okay, where do you come from that point of view? All those things. It's been a lot of fun just to kind of vet that stuff out, and good timing when we did it. We should do it again at a future point when some new things happen.
For sure. I'll be for sure.
And I hope honestly this gets other people to come on as well.
Yeah, I think it should. Just to,
I didn't even know you. I didn't know you either.
Yeah,
and you guys are both, friends of mine now. We talk. You're on the show multiple times. I hope that other people see that as well, instead of getting all like, I don't know if I'd be able to, or that doesn't look like a good platform. Why don't you try it? Why don't you go sit in the chair and you talk about it? You know what I mean?
I love that your show does it locally. We talk about world politics, but
Right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
the passion about our city and
Exactly.
and we all want what's best for our city.
Yeah.
We want it to do
well.
well.
To me, and I think I've talked to both of you about this, if we can zone in and a smaller portion of the nation and start fixing that area, that will grow. You know what I mean? That will spread to other counties and other states and other cities. But you have to start at home.
It is. And
Exactly.
I
You know?
voted
I like that.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Today's Wednesday. Yes, I voted yesterday, and it made me disappointed a little bit because our lives are definitely affected almost way more about our local politics than it is about
Nationally.
world politics.
Yeah.
But I go to
Right.
vote, and I'm like, I don't know who half these people are.
Bro, you're telling me.
They do
You're
stuff
telling me. That
affects
happens
us.
to me every
Yes.
time. Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's exactly
if
right.
we can get towards caring about our local stuff more.
Yeah, that happened to me during the Trump shit. It's like, who the fuck is Chase Oliver? Where did libertarians get this fucking guy from? You know, like, it's ridiculous.
It's
but
been so much fun, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
Yeah,
agree.
Glad
yeah.
you like it.
Thank you both.
thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll do it again. And yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you guys. Kasey. Good job, brother.